Welcome to Roleplay Rejects, where we play new and unusual tabletop role-playing games. This season, we are playing Call of Cthulhu, a 1920s investigative horror game. Welcome to Madness.
I did not know what you were talking about. And in her defense, vibes is not like a great thing to go off of.
I didn't exactly hear what you said, and I was more like, what? What did you say?
You truly looked shocked.
I was more confused.
More like the...
Is it like vibes, like you're supposed to be chilling?
Yeah, kind of.
For context, listeners, we're talking about a mushroom drink.
Yeah, if you're on TikTok,
Wesley is
it's
doing
called
shrooms.
Breeze.
He's
Yeah.
not.
They're
He's not.
actually the
He's
sponsor
drinking
of today's
mushrooms.
video. Use code Ligma for
That's not real.
0% off.
He's right. He don't use that code. Use Stugma.
Oh, right,
No,
right.
don't do that either.
Oh, no.
What if it works?
She meant Tugma.
That'd be crazy. That
You sure it's not Hava?
What?
Have a good day. Got him.
It's that one. Damien's correct.
You know who's not having a good day?
Never mind.
Dewey.
Well, it's over
What?
now, so I can headcanon whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah,
man.
actually, Dewey actually learned how to fly. And she's carrying her brother all the way back to Cleveland.
And the window was open the whole time.
And-
So instead of getting in the water, she
You
just
flew out the
turned
window.
into a bird and flew away.
yeah, birds is easy.
Birds is easy. That's the name of today's
Trail
episode.
Louse. Or something.
What?
I don't know. There's a YouTuber, and I'm just. Those are both
That's what I
references to him.
Yeah, that's definitely what it was.
Yeah.
Draxed. Them.
It was something different, but it was like some YouTuber named Nathan.
Today's sponsor.
Sorry, I sniffled directly into the mic.
Yeah, if you want to hear Stevie sniffle more, check us out on Patreon.
No,
Where I have an hour of me crying.
that'd be crazy.
There's lots of sniffling.
One day I'm gonna say some dumb shit like that. Someone's gonna subscribe, be pissed that that content is
They're
not there.
gonna be like, I really genuinely
and
wanted
then
to
we're gonna
listen
get
to you
we're gonna
sob.
get hate mail in lamalyoursinky@gmail.com.
Hey, for real though,
Yeah, send us hate mail.
or just
You could
Whatever.
send us happy mail.
Yeah.
You could be
Oh,
like, give
curious
us
mail?
compliments.
I mean, I'm
address it
not-
to everyone else. I'm gonna be a little weirded out if you send me a compliment over email.
Well, like, what is the compliment? It
No.
depends.
No,
no, I'm not above
I need everyone.
asking for compliments.
No, sure,
Yeah.
but don't email me a compliment.
I don't want to go on like a fishing trip for compliments.
You
So
never.
I'll just ask
Nah.
for them compliments right now.
Nah, tell us that we're good. Do it.
Yeah.
No, do it to everyone else.
Also, give us a 5-star
Keep my
review.
name out of your fucking mouth.
Wow.
Oh my
Wesley's
god.
name out of your motherfucking mouth.
That was
Isn't
good.
that wild that happened?
Yeah.
The walk up was so long. That was the worst part. I'll probably have to slap someone on a stage one day.
I hope
Or
I just get
that
to
I
slap
get
someone in
slapped.
general.
You've literally
I've
punched me in
never-
the
That
face
feels like a
before.
lot.
Hey,
And
we could make that happen at Nova.
Yeah. Wait, there's a stage at Nova?
no,
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah, we don't have to have an audience. We can just I can slap you.
True.
It's in that
Sure.
big Warhammer room.
I just don't want us to not get to go to Nova because we're acting a fool. That's all.
Well, it'll be
Well, we'll
fine.
already
No
be
one's gonna
there.
be
Listen,
there.
any
to
press
watch.
is good press.
True,
That's not true.
True.
Any slap is good slap.
True.
No, that's also not true.
Speaking of
You
good
guys
slaps,
are filthy liars who lie.
I'm not filthy.
And that comment from Misty is what I will cry to for the hour. She called me a liar.
I ain't calling you a truther.
It's my favorite. I will never not love Drake and Josh.
You've seen Drake and Josh, but you haven't seen SpongeBob?
Yeah.
That's that's not like weird.
No, it is.
They're different genres.
It's a little weird.
Irrelevant. Thank
No.
you. Thank you, Damien.
You know what's
For having
not
a
weird?
head on
Those
your shoulders.
worms. What are you doing with those? Why are they here?
Oh,
Are
that's
we all
a
gonna die?
that's a big bad
No.
that you guys never ran into.
Are you dead ass?
I'm okay
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
content
Dude,
with that.
don't look at me like that.
I'm also like content that we didn't use those tentacles.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
same.
had 10 of them.
Yeah.
There's 3.
Also, there were more fish people, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was expecting like a full on assault at Hammond Castle. and
Yeah, sorry
that
about
did not
that.
happen.
Instead, I
no,
just-
it's okay.
Murdered him.
And we ran.
Yeah, that was a good chance. Because if I got a weapon sooner, I would have killed the fish, which I'm sure would have led to the
Yeah, I was ready to kill
the
the
fish
fish
genocide
but then
route.
Benny was like,
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah,
We're brothers.
would not have stopped me personally.
Well, it was like everything was chaotic. I thought
That's
Audrey was
valid.
being affected by the music, but really
Also
she
valid.
was just scared of fish.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I better stop this music, and I did. The most
One thing that
effective
we
way to
did-
stop music is to shoot the person making the
think
music.
That's
One
probably
thing
true.
we didn't
Or
talk
press
about
pause.
though is probably like how fucking loud it was in that room.
Go
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh,
That
I don't know.
organ might have overpowered a lot of.
Like a lot of the communication going
Yeah.
on, just being
Oh,
in a
yeah.
room that is that loud can
Yeah, I
kind
would
of
have
like mess with
opened
your
my mouth
thinking
to
a
yell,
little
but
bit.
all you hear is dun 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun.
All
An
you hear
organ
is-
version.
All you hear is liver and spleen. The occasional kidney.
I was gonna say that. Like I was gonna say the occasional kidney. Why?
Because I'm you.
Are our brains the same?
We share but one brain cell.
And it's not a good one.
Yeah, it's actually pre-owned.
Who owned it before us?
Not a smart person.
So you two, and then the orange cats.
Yeah, we borrow it from the orange cats.
Okay.
Dude,
We don't get very good reception because we are not neither orange or cats.
Speak for yourself.
I don't know what any of you guys are saying right now.
Orange cats are dumb.
Yeah,
Sure,
that's what
but
we're saying. And
They
we're
share
also
one brain
dumb.
cell as a community, and we borrow it sometimes.
Okay.
They don't know- you
Obviously,
don't know the
Sorry,
orange
I
cat
didn't know the lore.
Jeez.
No, I don't know anything about cats.
That's fair.
That's. hate
I love
when you say
cats.
that, man.
It's 'cause
Sometimes I
I'm
think I have the
deathly
bestest,
allergic.
bestest,
I have so
perfect
much
friends
cat
in
lore.
the world, and then you say shit like that, and I'm reminded that everyone has flaws,
Yeah.
even
Well.
my friends.
So are we going to talk about
But
this game or
especially
not?
Alyssa.
Yeah, think about
Yeah.
people with flaws.
Because we keep like trying to do it and then we don't.
This game was sick.
We're like
Yeah.
tiptoeing.
Yeah, I really like this game. Do we want to talk campaign questions first, then rules?
Story then rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, what questions do you have for me?
All of them.
Yeah.
Like witches. What's up with those ladies?
So I've got one because it's been bothering me a bit, and I
Okay.
didn't want to look it up.
Thank you.
Crawling chaos.
Yes, that's another name for Nyarlathotep.
I was right then.
Okay.
Okay, because you told me I was wrong.
Oh yeah, I've been gaslighting you
Yeah,
so much.
it's called the lie.
You said
Damien.
Haster at one point though.
Haster
did.
is Nyarlathotep.
How do you know?
They're
You met
all
him?
the
You met
exact
him?
same person.
How do you know?
Nyarlathotep is the one that fucks with humans the most.
Wait.
He is the one of the Black Pyramid. He is the
But
bringer
isn't
of the yellow
Haster
sign.
the yellow?
The Yellow King, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Because I've been dodging Yellow King spoilers
Oh, okay.
because I know that you're excited to run Delta Green later on.
Oh, so
How
it's
do you
like-
spell Nyarlathotep?
Okay.
Yellow King.
So that's a great question. And I still have to look it up because Lovecraft.
I'm sure if you Google
Just-
the Yellow King, num will come up. What's up with this?
It's just a cool plant.
That's
A likely
the
story.
sub in for the cool clock.
Wow.
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 There he is. Okay. Nyarlathotep is spelled Nyarlathotep.
I found it.
Hog.
Yeah. And
Wait, hold on, I think I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
He's dead ass wrong. Hey, listeners, you're there first.
Goodness gracious. Stevie.
Sorry, I saw the internet.
Haster is another one then.
okay,
Another
yeah.
one.
I was pretty sure they were separate.
Why
Yeah.
did I think you were the same?
Oh.
Is Haster
Humans
Moonlight
are-
as another pharaoh?
Ow.
Humans are
He
fallible.
might. That
Not me.
tracks.
You were just fouled when
When?
you said your thing about orange
Okay,
cat.
Nyarlathotep is the one who frequently walks Earth in the guise of a human being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Often as a pharaoh looking person.
Arrow.
Oh, like Easy?
See the one that was like, wah.
Yep. Yeah.
That's kind kind of what the sound would be, right?
I don't think so.
All I can think of is Princess
But-
Diaries 2, I believe. Or is it the first one?
I don't know.
I think it's the second one. And Paolo is
Okay.
like
No, there was a second one.
doing. Oh, it's so good. It has Chris Pine in it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, the cone. Sorry.
Yes. But he's like doing her hair, and Anne Hathaway's like, I look like a moose. And then Paolo's like, but a very cute moose. Make all the other boy moose go, wah. And it's literally like whenever anybody makes that noise, that's all I can think of. That's it. When we watch Alone and they make moose calls, that's all I can think of.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
That lives rent-free in my brain
We need to watch
24/7.
those movies again.
They're so good. Come at me.
No.
But yeah, Nyarlathotep has 999 names and
That's
forms.
crazy.
And so some of them are the Black Pharaoh, the Bloody Tongue, the Crawling Chaos, and there's a dozen other ones that we know about in Lovecraft's lore, but then there's, dozens and hundreds of others.
Why is it always like such a flex when people have a billion names?
Dude, it just shows how magic you are. It's like Gandalf.
Yeah.
Well, also, I think
Wait,
just
Dumbledore.
Shows how well
If-
known
how-
you are.
well
Yeah.
Does
known
he
you
have a
are,
lot
but
of
it's
names?
also like
Dumbledore does.
Oh.
like medieval kind of era. I was about to say medieval times, but that's just a great restaurant. Medieval era, like each of the names are like part of your accomplishments.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it kind of is pulling into that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
It's also like different groups of people, when they experience you, would call you something different. Like they're not all going to happen to land on the same Dark Souls title boss theme. Right.
Yeah, and Nyarlathotep is, he is like kind of the king of the dream world,
Mhm.
at least part of it. He sits on a throne on the moon
Nice.
and is surrounded by moon beasts, who are those toads with tentacles for eyes.
Oh,
Oh, that's why I saw them.
I hate that.
That is why you saw them.
Cool.
Yeah, and so, man, do I just start at the beginning?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Pop off.
And then end at the end.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. So, Hammond was looking for these objects because he had been contacted by the Chthonians. The Chthonians are massive underground worms that like live in
That's
the
wild.
Earth's core.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Of course,
Following.
right?
Of course. That's what I was thinking. I didn't want to say it.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah.
I'm like, make
I
everyone
didn't want to
else look
ruin
dumb.
it. You
Yeah,
know?
of course not.
We're on the same
I
page.
had no
Misty and I
fucking
talked about
idea.
it.
Mhm.
Those
Me
two were
personally.
they were in the
that's-
dark.
No,
world.
it you guys weren't digging too deep into his backstory,
I
and
get
so
it
Because they're at the core.
of the
Yeah.
core. Yeah.
Under the earth. Digging deep.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I tried to. I asked the witches, "What up with that guy?" And they
Yeah.
didn't tell me about the giant worms.
they didn't know about him.
Maybe if we started digging for flowers,
Yeah, I was gonna
these
say,
things would have
yeah.
came.
Oh my gosh.
That would have been terrifying.
So,
Ah.
Chthonians, they have nothing to do with Cthulhu, even though the name starts
Yeah,
off
that's what I was gonna
very
ask.
similarly. They are landworms, live in the lava, and they are
are
telepathic.
worms.
So they can talk to each other, and then if they get close enough to the surface, they can also talk to humans. And my headcanon was they would talk to humans who were sleep deprived because their brainwaves hit a lower level, and so it can push through the earth, essentially. I also did a bunch of reading on like brainwaves that I immediately data dumped before we started playing. So they were represented by the low frequency brainwaves, if I remember right. And then Cthulhu and the deep ones are easier to contact when you are asleep, which are those higher brain waves, right? Your alpha waves or whatever. And that's also where the crystal waves name came for the campaign. was
From brains.
old radios used to use crystals to transmit and receive stuff,
Like
right?
in Napoleon Dynamite.
Like in Napoleon Dynamite. Also, fun fact, the baby blanket that the witches were knitting, that's a pattern called crystal waves. And
Whoa.
if you Google crystal waves, that's usually the first thing that comes up.
Oh my gosh.
That's cool. I have to look at it now.
Yeah, it's a like crocheting pattern,
Hmm.
essentially.
You told us this whole time they were knitting.
Oh.
Or knitting? I don't know the
Crochet
difference.
pattern.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
Toxic.
crazy that's like
I
the
thought
first
he
thing
said
that pops
crochet.
He might have. Sorry, it's not toxic.
Nice. Thank you.
It's so pretty.
Yeah, I don't really know the difference, so I might have.
Crocheting's based because my church mom does it.
Crochet
Oh,
is
okay.
a hook. Knitting is needles.
Yeah, that too.
The little.
Oh, okay. So it was crochet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I have a crochet stuff.
Cool.
I don't use it.
up. I used to too.
No.
I feel like
know how to
every
crochet.
ADHDer goes through 2 seconds of crochet at a minimum. It's like a
I
requirement.
don't know. Elise Myers went hard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
some
well, it's a
people really
minimum,
get
not a
into
maximum,
it, but
yeah.
So Hammond knew about the Chthonians, and they were giving him inspiration for his inventions. They were telling him how to control things at a distance and how to prepare people for them to contact. And so
Wow.
that was their motivation, and through them, Hammond's motivation.
so there was like a whole side quest that was
So-
like a main quest that we just didn't unlock.
Yeah, and that's totally fine.
That's crazy.
So that was why he was like not really the one who made the thing
yeah.
because he
'Cause
was just
they
given
gave-
instructions.
Yeah, they gave him the whole plans
Yeah,
for
but
that.
Didn't
worms
take
don't
that
have
as-
thumbs, so
Yeah.
Didn't take that as giant worms told him to do it.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been my
But
first guess.
that's
Mm-mm.
you didn't roll high enough for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
just get the feeling that
Yeah, suss him
underground
out.
worms.
Yeah, he's lying, and giant landworms were involved. I'd be more confused.
Yeah. So then we had the Esoteric Order of Dagon, right? The church. And so they came from Innsmouth, and there's a very famous Lovecraft story, one of his like big ones called Shadow over Innsmouth. And it's about someone who goes to Innsmouth to like investigate something, finds out that they were actually from Innsmouth, and then finds out that they are actually a deep one. And
Oh.
and so that's where a lot of the inspiration with Damien's arc came from.
Bro, anyone with like Lovecraftian knowledge must have been like, "What?" At the reference.
Yeah.
not me
And-
though.
Yeah.
Nope.
I don't know
me.
anything.
Hey, and I appreciate that. It was
Yeah,
fun.
you were like, you guys don't know shit about Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's perfect.
That was me in Fallout.
And that story takes place in 1927.
Oh.
And then at the end of that story, the Navy comes and like blows up the Deep One like city. And so the group from Innsmouth came down to Gloucester to like reestablish themselves and set up a new city. And in that attack, again, my headcanon, Dagon died, Dagon and Hydra are the two Deep One like rulers, and they all worship Cthulhu and a couple of other gods. But so Dagon died, and now Benny has taken his place as the
That's
new
so rad.
god of the Deep
Oh my
Ones,
gosh,
essentially.
look at you.
I know,
Yeah.
moving up in the world.
You're not even just
Moving
living
down.
your best
Yeah,
fish
moving
life.
down. Yeah.
You're living like your best fish god life.
Yeah.
Fish deity life.
Yeah.
Imagine I'm just down there playing Mermaider on loop.
But yeah, that was fun. The Marsh Brothers outside of your hotel, that was just to freak you out.
Oh,
It did.
And it worked
I didn't like
so
it.
we
well.
focused so much on it.
Yeah. And they were like part of the whole Deep One thing. Obviously, they were like helping Damien out. at the end of it, but originally it was not that. But then you guys really focused down on them, and I
Well,
was
you gave us
like,
creepy people changing every day.
yeah.
Yeah, there was one for
Originally, that was just like someone guarding the mechanic shop because the nice car was in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's very unlike us to focus on something we don't need to
Yeah,
focus
we don't typically do that. Very out of character for us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super weird.
I've never done that before.
Definitely
probably
not
never
in
will
an
again.
investigative game either.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sleeper. Okay, so at Sleeper's house, there were all those paintings that y'all ignored.
Not me. I saw one of them.
We were like, wow, that's...
So those were paintings of
War.
Pikmin. Pikmin's model is the name of the Lovecraft story, and it's another like person turning into the monster type story. But it's someone who turns into a ghoul, and then later on they are found in the dream world because ghouls can pass into the dream world through graveyards.
Whoa.
And the shopkeeper, Danny, was on the path to becoming a ghoul because he was stealing stuff from graves to put in his shop.
That's so cool.
And
Yeah.
that's why he got kicked out of the order. 'cause they
That's why he
found
got
out.
kicked out of the order. And because he didn't want to marry a deep one. That's the third oath, is you have to marry a deep one
Whoa.
Oh.
and like sire children, essentially. Yeah.
Oh.
And that's like, again, straight from the lore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grave
the-
robbing is crazy.
Yeah. Grave robbing and like
It's a dead end job.
becoming ghouls. Yeah. So that was a cool one. Sleeper was just there for the good time, right? The deep ones were funding his parties, and he was bringing them drugs that they could then help people stay asleep with. Let's see, what else?
What about the witches?
The witches. The witches just wanted to be left alone.
Oh,
Based.
Yeah.
sorry, witches.
Maybe I'm a witch.
Am I a witch now?
Yeah.
Sick.
What's going
You're
on?
a god.
with the-
I'm a
like,
witch.
What
You
what
guys are-
happened?
You're on the
At
train.
least generally
I'm cool being a
speaking,
guy.
between
You're maybe dying.
Yeah, hopefully not.
what happened, generally speaking, between the end of the witch trials, yeah, in this storyline,
Yeah. Mhm.
to
It's a Dogtown.
Yeah.
Downtown.
Yeah. So
Did they turn them
Mary
into
and
dogs?
Grace totally like so
The dagger disappeared.
They were
Yeah.
witches.
so they weren't to begin with. Dumb what's her name that was accusing them.
Betty.
She was the witch.
Whoa.
Yeah. Whoa.
And then
oh my god.
and had tried to plant the dagger
Oh.
at their house, but then no one found it. And
That's
Idiots.
embarrassing, dude.
and then when Grace found it, she started understanding, and her dementia kind of went backwards. And yeah, she's like, hey, I can think clearly now. This Nyarlathotep guy must not be too bad.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I would have that same thought.
And
the fuck, Betty? I knew I
eventually
didn't
got
like her.
Mary into it. And then
Esther.
Esther, yes. Esther, who was Mary later on. They
And
weren't.
she was pregnant?
Regarcant?
Yeah, I don't know why I said that. But,
Sometimes
Yeah.
it just
Like
feels right
it.
to add shit in.
She's
you know?
pregnant,
Yeah.
and then we're like, ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, why is she crocheting? I don't know.
Must be
Baby
pregnant.
blanket. Like
She's
you could have
pregnant.
just said someone else was pregnant.
Yeah, I could have.
Someone
But,
in the neighborhood. There's
but
lots
then
of
you guys
women.
would have had to go find that other person
Oh,
to like
yeah.
confirm.
That's true.
Yeah.
We would have been like, oh, how'd they get pregnant? There's no boys here.
Oh, true.
And
Yeah.
then we would have gone off.
That would have been
And
at
Joseph would
least
have
2 more episodes.
Yeah, he would have never gotten us back.
Did they kill the guys?
So, what happened
Oh, sorry.
was during World War One, the women of the town had to like band together, right? And all of them had dogs for protection, essentially, because their men were gone, and right, you have to have something at home to fight people off. And then when all the men came back, they're like, you don't really know how to fish. You don't really know how to run the factory. We've got it from here. And they were like, no, like we've actually got it. And most of them just like kind of ran their husbands out of town, but a couple of them did kill their husbands.
Oof.
And because Grace and Esther had gotten to them and were like, hey, like we're just fine without our men, and hey, like we can live forever if we want. And got that whole little coven rolling in
That's
that
so
corner.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What a fucked up town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of shenanigans in one
Yeah,
town.
honestly.
Yeah.
I'm happy I'm a witch though now.
Yeah, unless we drown.
Was there anything more going on with that like Robo Cat that we saw when we
I'm a
first
witch,
went
so I
to
can
Ham
swim.
Castle?
So the RoboCat
Oh, I
was
got
one
swims.
of Hammond's experiments.
Okay.
I got swim 40.
I think
That was him
Oh, that was Hester.
trying to telepathically talk to the cats and like get them to do things, and he found that he could get like lower life forms to like do his bidding or whatever. But they also had to have the little transmitter. And so then the cat realized that it could, and so it got the mice to just like walk into its mouth, essentially.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yep.
Who went through our stuff?
I was about to ask that. same
Yeah.
That was the church. The church, they saw you all, show up at the hotel, and someone recognized Benny. I wasn't sure it was going to be Benny at that point, but
Someone
I was
recognized
like,
someone.
someone recognized, like, hey, that looks like the son of
chosen
Dagon.
one.
Yeah. And so at that point, they like left you alone, but then you guys were getting super paranoid about people watching you. And I was like, oh yeah, that's why they're watching them. So yeah, it was to keep the chosen one safe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Still don't
What-
like
what
them
was
going
up with
through
the
my underwear.
coins?
That's weird.
No,
So the coins, they were symbols of Nyarlathotep, and the idea was if you were holding them, it was supposed to keep you from falling into the dreaming that was controlled by Cthulhu and the deep ones. And so as long as you had the coins on you, you weren't going to fall into that portion of the dreaming without drugs. The drugs kind of overrode all of that.
Okay.
crazy.
Yeah.
What a-
Oh, did you know? Was it planned that George was going to be the one that's not there? Or was it just going to be based on whoever ended up being the.
So by the time you
Deep
guys got
ones.
to Sleeper's house, that was the plan. And so George died during the shipwreck, but he was like sucked into the dreaming. And so George is reliving his World War I like nightmare and
Wow.
creating things inside of the dreaming. And so that's why the trenches were like the main spine of the dream that you guys were having. And then your friends that were at the asylum were kind of offshoots of that. Yeah.
What a horrible existence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems awful.
yeah.
He dodged death just for that? Like, no. That's so
That's
sad.
stranded
Yeah.
for real.
Oh. That's really depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pog though.
What were you
Yeah.
expecting this last fight to be?
Yeah.
Oh, I was expecting it to be more of a slugfest. Bring in some deep ones. You guys like shooting them using the spear.
So, I wish. So the deep ones are pretty killable, right?
Yes, yeah. Deep ones are only like they're essentially just people
But fish
that
skinned?
can
That's crazy.
that can swim. Deep ones, your average deep one has a strength of 70, constitution of 50, size of 80, so they are a little bigger.
Makes sense.
Dex of 50, int of 65, pow of 50. So like they're sizable humans with a trident
cunning.
or some other spear
And gills.
and gills. Yeah. Their fighting's only 45%, so
Yeah, that guy in the taxi is cooked. I stay brawling.
yeah. And if you guys went to the asylum earlier, I would have had one of you like committed. And you would have found that the asylum workers are essentially just playing both sides of the field. They're like, oh, you'll give us like drugs to keep people asleep? Awesome. Oh, you've got like
Drugs for the opposite?
you've got drugs for the opposite. And the doctor there was really interested in insomnia versus narcolepsy and how to treat those and like the effects of long term one or the other.
So they were basically just like science experiments.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
And the deep ones were supplying them people as well. And so when like shipwrecks would come in, they're like, here's another no-name person.
And that's probably how they got those three.
Yeah, that's exactly how. Yep.
Should have killed those fish when I had the chance.
Yeah,
Man.
shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Next time.
Speaking of that shipwreck, what was going on with that pharaoh?
So, the gold cat is, is a symbol of the dreaming, right? Symbol of Nyarlathotep.
Yeah, that's his cat.
Yeah.
It's the cat of Ulthar. Well, that's
Cat-
what that cat is.
And Ulthar is a city in the dreaming.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, the city of cats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know that. He
Forgot
told us
this
about
lore.
it before. Yeah.
I believe you.
But, so that was being transported along with like a pharaoh body that Nyarlathotep had used in the past. And so the deep ones, realizing that the dreaming was being messed with, took pretty much everything off that ship. And then Nyarlathotep awoke and realized that,
Okay, so they were just kind of in a bad place, bad time, right? Because the deep ones are the one that stole the shit.
yeah,
And Homeboy was mad
So
about
he was
it.
like,
Yeah.
you guys can't steal from me.
Yeah, he wasn't talking to us. He was talking to the deep ones.
yeah,
Wow.
People can steal from me, but you guys cannot.
Well, I think it's because we were transporting him with the cat, so we weren't stealing from him.
Oh.
Right?
yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep. Yeah. And I think Shoggoths are just super cool. And so that's why
They are.
Came up again.
they came up a few times.
They're terrifying.
In
Yeah, I
the
hate them.
in the lore, the deep ones use them to build their cities. They are essentially the like perfect multi-tool
Yeah, they sound like one.
because they
They got it all.
they have limbs wherever they need them. They can build things, they can destroy things.
That's crazy.
And that's their MO is they can reorganize whatever they want.
So then me seeing it as an angel, that was just my own hallucination.
Yeah, that was you being indoctrinated essentially. And
Oh. This angel
And,
is
like-
super cool.
they are like creative, destructive beings that have all sorts of weird limbs.
Oh, that
And
ain't
so,
me.
yeah,
Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough.
and I was just really proud of that mini. So I wanted
Yeah.
It's a
to.
good mini.
You should be. This is
I
Really
wanted to
cool.
find a way to incorporate it.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
What was something that we did that like really threw off stuff that you had planned, or was there anything? Because sometimes there's not. But
Oh, you follow your receipt.
What was something you did that threw off? I was expecting you guys to try to steal the dagger at some point. Or like dig up the garden or something. And the witches would have got real violent. So
I'm glad we did.
I'm personally glad we
honestly.
did not do that then.
yeah.
They would have been like, fireball.
Yeah, and like they were people, but they also knew how to use a couple of spells that would have really
Whoa.
screwed up your life. So
sick.
I'm glad that we were kind of like friends.
You have to respect witches all the time.
Yeah,
Yes.
Otherwise
it's
you're
a
cooked.
rule.
Yeah.
yeah.
You showed us the mini that's got the glow in the dark paint on them. Looks like a grave digger or something.
Yeah.
What was you said that you really wish that you could have used him? What was he going to be used
That
for?
was going to be the ghoul shopkeeper. If you guys had rolled a little bit better, I think that's why I didn't take you all down that route. You would have like noticed dirt under his fingernails or something like that, and followed him for some reason or another, and got into the graveyard.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's what the paintings would have been more of a
Oh, it pointed us in that
Pointed to
direction.
them.
would have pointed
'cause
you in that
they were
direction
paintings of a ghoul.
because they're paintings of a ghoul and they're paintings of graveyards. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that would have pointed you more back towards.
It's kind of crazy we
Danny.
didn't investigate those actually. Now that you bring it up, I'm like,
Yeah.
I think we were pretty focused on getting the statue.
Yeah, we kind of had the
Yeah.
opposite effect in this game than we did in City of Mist. Where in this game we were like, we gotta do this thing, and we will not get distracted. In City of Mist, we were like, what the fuck is that? And we invested literally everything else.
like
So,
that is nothing.
yeah.
But what if it's
Well,
not?
it could be.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're telling me that door is just a door?
Mm-hmm.
It's looking at me funny.
Yeah. Oh, another thing. The globe in Hammond's room, when he opened that up, if you had rolled better on Natural World or whatever it was, you would have noticed that he had like carved in little worms into.
Oh, we definitely
The
would have been
globe.
like, what up with that?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
We probably would have
sick.
talked about the worm.
Yeah. But since you guys didn't, it was just like, yeah, it's a globe.
And we were like, whoa, a globe that has drinks in it. That's
Yeah,
so cool.
it's pretty sweet.
Which is like still cool, but
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
as cool as worm
Worms.
globe.
yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
That's so crazy.
It's so cool that you have so many potential routes.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
covered all of them.
So
I think that's good though. Like
it was,
it's
yeah.
very flexible, I think.
It was really flexible. It was like I am a little sad that some of those things didn't come up, right?
Sorry.
No, it's not your guys' fault.
Monsters.
It was on purpose. The monsters were the friends we made along the way.
Yeah.
But the way I like structured this one was after the Hammond party, I had like all of the people in their places, and like once you visit them, you start to learn about their motives, right? And I had kind of an end game for if Hammond won, kind of an end game for if the cultists got everything they needed, and that's the one that we ended with. Yeah, I don't think I had anything planned past that, but those were the two main endings that I was looking at.
What happened when we just rolled up to Hammond's house? What was going on there? Because he was just kind of like playing the organ really loudly.
Yeah,
The butler was dead outside. The fish guy attacked prematurely.
Yes, yeah, that was exactly what happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the one fishman was trying to do reconnaissance and got caught, and the butler fought him and didn't win. And Hammond had learned from the Chthonians how to repel deep ones with sound.
Wow.
Yeah, because Chthonians, one of the only ways to kill them is by drowning. And so one of their like long-term goals is to pollute the world, global warming, kill everything. Yeah. And then
Lofty goals.
Yeah.
yeah, right? And
They're doing great.
Yeah, they're doing a
They're
pretty
killing
good
it.
job.
and that's the thing. They're like, "Oh, you want more technology? Here you go. Oh, you want the internet? Here's how to control things through radio. Like, we'll get you there. Don't worry. Oh, you want more bombs? Here you go.
Greenhouse gases.
Yeah, and so that
Want acid rain?
yeah,
We fixed that though.
yeah, we did, didn't we?
Yeah. I was so worried about it as a kid.
Yeah, and then the deep ones, they got everything they wanted. They wanted their new Messiah, and they wanted to bring Cthulhu into the dreaming. So in my headcanon, Cthulhu's too smart to dream like we do, and he's too smart to create things off the fly. The only reason that humans are allowed to create things in the dreaming is because we're stupid, and we
that chaos.
don't understand what's going on, and so that chaos, allows us to build inside the dreaming. And Cthulhu couldn't, but he was still kind of trapped in the dreaming, and so now the cat has given him that power to build
Is that why it was storming so much?
and expand. Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah. And so the ocean wins this time.
Yeah, rip no gill hovers.
Yep.
Just grow some. It's easy.
Maybe it's not too late to become a fish.
But yeah, other than that, you guys hit most of the big storylines that I wanted.
You said that you prepared for Hammond's ending. What was Hammond's ending?
Hammond's ending was to stab the Cthulhu idol with the knife to permanently cut Cthulhu off from the dreaming.
Whoa.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
But he had to do that in the room down the 77 steps.
Oh, that's why he needed the cat.
And so that's why he needed the cat, was so he could get to that
Wow.
room with objects. And
That's
Why was
really
he wanting
cool.
to do that?
because the Chthonians were telling him to.
Yeah, so then they don't have to deal with the deep ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they don't drown.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that was going to be that ending, was him going down there, maybe taking a couple of you with him and cutting off the dreaming.
the plant clock.
Yeah. It's just super cool.
Okay.
I heard about it one day and I was like, that sounds like something eccentric that Hammond would have done. So,
Because I was wondering, because like when you set up this map, you put like alien plants on
Yeah.
that spot. Was it just,
to freak you guys out.
it worked?
Yeah.
It doesn't help that those are the plants that we dealt with in Star Wars that were scary.
Oh, yeah.
The fungus ones.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so we were like, oh no,
They're back.
these symbolize bad.
But yeah, Hammond was all worried about like control and being precise. And so the clock was supposed to kind of symbolize that.
What happened to his wife?
So
Yeah, what's she doing?
he had her committed to the asylum.
Oh.
So, well,
Oh,
That
she
happened-
would have been the medium through which he goes.
yeah.
Because we're close to our friends. He's close to his wife.
Yeah.
Dang, that sucks.
That's crazy.
What an asshole.
Yep.
Oof.
That's wild.
Yep.
Don't never.
And then when he goes, they're all going to be like, Hammond. That
Is
shit was
that-
so wild.
Is that because the like
Spooky.
sleep deprived telepathy stuff.
Yep. Yeah. Is they were getting to a point where like they could talk to each other, but they couldn't talk out, and they didn't have much to say. Yeah.
Wild.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And like if you guys had arrived at the asylum earlier, you might have talked to Hammond's wife or something like that. But
Or be like, yo, I saw you at the dinner party.
hey,
What are you doing here?
yeah. But we were far enough along in the story at that point that I didn't want to
Would have just been a distraction.
like bring that in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
This whole story is fucking wild.
Yeah, it was fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was
I was so
awesome.
stressed. So
Yeah,
much
and
of
you
the
guys
time.
gave me great characters to work with too. That made this whole thing a lot easier. Cause like Misty was the first one to give me her character stuff back, maybe because we lived together or something. And I was like, ooh, Egyptian stuff, Pharaoh, and built out the Nyarlathotep side a little bit more. Because originally I was very excited about the Cthulhu and the church stuff and Dagon. And Nyarlathotep was more of a side project. And the Chthonians and Cthulhu fighting each other were the main like forces. But then I really liked the Nyarlathotep stuff I was reading, so I brought that in. And like the same thing a little bit with all of y'all, like extra plants because of Vincent. I was like, we need more creepy plants in here. We need more, or not Vincent, Hester. And yeah, I was really excited to have Benny because of the World War I stuff and the stuttering eventually becoming
That was crazy.
Yeah,
good.
that was
Yeah.
wild.
the talking. Dude, that just hit me like a month ago, and I was like, dude, maybe. Oh no, like that. I was just as excited about that as you guys were.
That shit was sick.
Yeah, that was so fucking
Yeah.
cool.
But that hit me like a month ago, and so I started to play into when you were stuttering, and so like when you had the cop on your tail and you came into the church and you were stuttering, you were giving them precise instructions to like go kill the cop, get me his gun, even though you, Benny, hadn't voiced that.
Yeah. It was
And
like something else was
something
speaking
else
through
was speaking. Yeah. So,
That's wild.
yeah.
it. Fuck me.
Yeah.
Did we ever explain our character backstories?
No, not really. You guys kept a lot secret from each other, which I liked.
Makes
It
sense
helped.
too. We're not gonna be like, want to hear about my childhood trauma?
Yeah. And all of you had all sorts of trauma.
Yeah. I wrote a lot for my back, like too much for my backstory.
It was great. I loved it.
I took
and
it
I
as
used
like a creative writing project.
yeah, and I used that a lot in the dreaming. So that was fun.
Do we want to
Yeah, do you guys want to talk about them?
I never wrote anything. I'll go first.
Okay, Wesley.
That's it. That's all I got. Next.
Oh,
Okay.
Now, what was the connection between your two characters?
Plants. Hester would, I guess they were kind of just like mostly like buddies, but they ended up becoming really close friends. And Hester would help out Vincent by bringing back cool plants that she thought might taste good. And some of them tasted good.
It's like really wholesome though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I got to tell her that I peed in her body.
no, don't say it like that. Why did you word it like that?
What?
Because I was Hester for an evening and I peed.
I
You-
know, but like
Yeah.
the way you phrased
I know.
it was
That
off
sounded-
the actual word
That
way.
sounded
My bad.
awful.
How do I sound that better?
You
I used the
He-
restroom while in her body.
No.
No,
no.
that's
I-
bad too.
It's hard.
Yeah, how do we...
I had an out of body experience where
But in
I
her
was
body.
Hester and I peed.
Now
You
it's just
peed
clunky.
while you were.
Sure,
Your soul
but
was
it
trapped in
doesn't
Hester's body.
say
That's so crazy.
I peed
Okay.
I just can't. That
They're
was
friends.
wild.
They share stories. They
If we
share
ever
plans.
become famous, that's going to be quoted.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
That's what
Sorry,
you're going to be known
rejects.
for.
Hey, if we're in a spot where everybody knows I said that, we're probably doing pretty well as a podcast.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Who wants to go next?
I'll go.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna kind of like skim through this, but basically, George White and Benny Gray, they both were kind of like enlisted, drafted into World War One. They were part of Company L, 3rd Battalion, 360th Infantry Regiment, 90th Infantry Division. They were fighting in the Saint Mihiel offensive. It's like an actual battle that happened in World War One. I don't know how to exactly state that one. They pushed on to Argonne Forest, but during that time, basically Benny and George were out on watch, and all that George knows is that he was like walking through the trenches, like checking places, and a bomb goes off and he falls unconscious. Unknown time later, he wakes up in a French hospital. He was kind of like left there, found somehow. Left there though because he was in critical condition, couldn't move, but he woke up from the coma. He was going on the ship literally just to go back home. But what Benny saw wasn't an explosion. It was that fucked up nightmare creature that he was having like haunt him.
And my headcanon was that was a Shoggoth that was feeding, essentially, just in the trenches, because it could.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's fucking wild. Yeah, that thing kind of like, basically I saw it like submerge George in like black sludge, and then which would make a lot of sense with the whole dissolving him. Yeah, and then I tried shooting at it, and then instead of anything actually happening, I got chewed out by that one captain guy that we saw at the dinner.
Yeah.
After that, he worked as a mechanic and then got the letter. But he was never able to sleep well at all. Which is why when he joined the church and he finally was able to like have a fucking dream,
Yeah, long rest.
it was game changing.
Literally.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's why he kind of like stuck with them, because ultimately he wasn't really trying to find George, just initially, right? Trying to find George because, you know, brotherly bond or something. But like the back of his mind, like a large portion of the back of his mind was to ask him how he got away from it.
And the captain guy that you hated so much, he did move from like army things to Navy acquisitions, and he helped attack the Innsmouth people back in the day. He wasn't like on the ship, he was like supply, like just giving them bombs, but he was involved, and so that's why he was so tight-lipped about it being like, it's classified, even though he wanted to tell everybody because he was dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Benny and George.
Stevie, do you want to go or do you want me to go?
I'm just trying to figure out what information. This is a lot of.
You did write me a small novel.
I
It was
did.
great.
I can go if you want to keep searching.
No.
Okay.
So Dewey's name is Dahlia Elizabeth Walker. She has a twin brother named Daniel Earl Walker. So they have the same initials. They were referred to as Dewey and Doll. Her brother was Dewey. She was Doll. And so they got along really well. They did everything together. And then after a while, Their mom got pregnant and they had a little brother, but he was really neglected. Like, it was like the mom, she just didn't show him love the way she'd focus on the older kids. And then so in turn, the dad focused on the younger one. And then the older kids would also like focus on the younger ones. But then they're also kind of like, dad doesn't love me. That's not nice. They had dad issues and mom issues.
Sounds like an adventure to me.
Yeah. The rain one was one of George's last like good memories of their mom, I think, like because she would have days that she would be she suffered from a lot of mental illness. She would have days like more like manic, like she'd be want to do stuff, and then that day it was George's birthday. It was cold and raining, but she was like, let's go have a picnic and we can like dance in the rain. It'll be fun. And George had like a great time. But like the older siblings were like, ugh. So it's like not a good memory at all for Dewey. And so it was
so
just
sad.
Because like the dad came home, he was like reasonably pissed because they were just out in the rain. Like the kids were going to get sick. She was going to get sick. It was just
and like there was a bunch of wasted food. And
yeah,
everything,
like
right?
they didn't eat because all the food got soaked. But like George like remembers it fondly, but Dewey does not.
Yeah.
It
really do be like that with siblings.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
You have totally different experiences of the same scenario.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But then they got older. War. Sorry. And then, so Daniel, being a young man, he like had to go off to war. Edith, their mom, super duper depressed, would just kind of lay in bed all day. Didn't really do much else. And so everyone was just kind of waiting. Dolly always felt like a strong connection. And she actually, on the day that I forgot his name. Daniel died. He like died in the war. She actually like woke up and like she kind of like knew.
Oh no.
She dreamt of his death,
Yeah.
like experiencing his death. So that's part of why she's a very spiritual person and believes in like the psychic stuff. So the witches doing the palm reading was like, she was like, oh, okay, because she was into that stuff. And then the mom got worse. She was just kind of like awful to everyone. And then like there is an incident and Dahlia had like left home. I don't know what she was doing. Hold on. I'm sorry. This is like, I have so much text and I'm trying to skim. But she came home basically to her dad had killed her mom.
Oof.
And then, like, she knows that her mom was just saying awful things, especially to George. Probably saying, like, awful things, like, yeah. I don't want to say them because I don't know how it falls in terms of, like, the...
Yeah, just, like, really abusive, though.
Yeah. And so Dahlia ended up... He wasn't, like, trying to hurt Dahlia or anything. He was just, like, upset. He was obviously upset about the fact that he just killed his wife. But then Dahlia, like, shot him. I don't know. I don't remember why. It was just, like... Yeah. She didn't feel much when she saw her dead mom. And then she just... like took her dad out. I don't remember why. I'm trying to remember, but I can't.
Well, I think that's enough of a reason.
Well, I'm sure it's a very
Yeah.
charged situation. You walk in, your dad is standing over your mom's dead body. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, this was good. Sorry. I said, seeing the lifeless shape of her mom, blah, blah, blah. It was the first time she thought she might be able to understand what mom felt when she looked at George. Like, she just did not care
Oof.
damn.
that her mom was dead.
Oof.
Yeah. That was wild. This was super depressing.
It was.
I'm sorry.
I think you apologized in the text that you sent to me. You're like, this is the most depressing thing I've ever written.
Yeah, but then, so the police came because the neighbors called.
They heard gunshots.
Yeah. And so the police found me just kind of laying in my yard. And then they were like, oh, it's pretty clear she thought he was an intruder that came and killed her mom because it was dark, So then I didn't say otherwise. And then so I ran at my father's grocery store for a while. And then I was like, I'm going to move to Cleveland. And then I needed money. But work was hard to come by because woman. And I couldn't borrow money from the bank because woman.
Mm-hmm.
So I got some from a local crime family. And I would do dirty work for them. And then I eventually got to the point where I was running the speakeasy. Occasionally, they'd need me for, dirty work, but then, yeah. And I got, really used to it. It wasn't, I was described as not bloodthirsty, but I was, curious.
Mm.
And she was part of the whole, oh, my brother's soul and our share, because English.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because a psychic told her that she had two souls intertwined, but it was two halves that could never be whole again as they once were.
Okay.
And she took that as they were in the womb together.
Mm.
Yeah. And then she also thought that her ability to just kill without thinking was because her brother's soul was hardened from war.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. She was crazy. She really bought into all that stuff.
Is that when she took the name Dewey?
Yeah, that's why she took Dewey as her name, especially when she started working for the crime family. Because, you don't walk up to people and be like, hi, I'm Dahlia. The people aren't very threatened by it.
Mm.
So then, yeah. George is a busboy at the speakeasy.
Wasn't he the one with a crap ton of money?
Yeah.
Was that all from
Bloodman.
No,
Dewey? Or?
it was from relatives.
Yeah,
Oh.
it was an inheritance.
Oh, yeah, you guys don't know. The reason
She
he
said, what do you
went,
mean?
the reason he went to Europe in the first place was because to collect an inheritance from distant
Oh, I
family.
think you did. I think you did tell us that.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah. So,
Nice.
but I don't have it anymore.
Mhm.
My
Yeah,
car.
sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry,
did
that was a
feel-
lot of words, and that wasn't even
about
much of it. But yeah, that's most of the depressing story of Dahlia.
That's good, though.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Jeez.
All right, Misty.
she has a hard life.
So Audrey is the daughter of first generation immigrants from Ireland. And spent her whole life trying to get away from the stigma of being Irish. Because especially at the time, they were thought really low of. And so she worked really hard to be super smart and get good grades. And for a long time, she dropped her accent so that people wouldn't know that she was Irish, to the point that she adopted a Bostonian accent because she grew up in an Irish home, went to Irish Catholic schools all growing up, and so that's what she was around until college, and then she dropped it. She became friends with Layla, who is also the daughter of immigrants, but her family was from Egypt, and her father was a professor at
MCU.
at Miskatonic, teaching Arabic. And so they ended up going to Harvard together. And Audrey was always really jealous of Layla because Layla kind of just like was good at things, and she was like a kind person, and she was super smart, and she was really pretty, and she just like didn't understand why it seemed like Layla had such a good life when that's like all Audrey had ever wanted. And Audrey was working just as hard, but she always felt like she always fell a little bit short of whatever Layla was doing. And so like initially they were friends, but it started to become like this really toxic jealousy, and it turned into a really one-sided friendship where Layla thought of them as really good friends, but Audrey was always like trying to use Layla as like a step up to be better. And so they both went into archaeology, and Audrey studied Egyptian Arabic because her whole goal was to eventually go and do a dig in Egypt. That was what she was really interested in. But as students, the first digs that they could go do were in Spain. And so during one of these digs, her and Layla went to Spain, found a bunch of really cool stuff. They actually found everything that they needed, plus a little extra. And so in Audrey's pursuit to like be the best, it kind of like became this really like this thing that like ate at her. And so not only did she like want to one up Layla, but she also wanted like this fame and fortune that she was seeing a lot of like the big archaeologists at the time getting. And she wanted to be like the premier archaeologist, and her goal was to eventually go work at Miskatonic. But in order to do that, she had to like make a name for herself. So when they got these extra things at the dig, she stole one of them and kept it in her bag because her goal was to study it herself and kind of like get all of the research herself. Long story short, she ended up meeting this guy while she was in Spain, and being like the dumb early 20s-ish girl that she was at the time, she was super infatuated with him. And he was like, oh, well, I'm going over to Morocco.
Which is like just across the water from Spain.
And so she was like, yeah, like I'll meet up with you, right? So she goes across the water to Morocco, and Layla, being the good friend that she is, was like, something's up. Something feels weird. I don't like this. And so she like followed Audrey to make sure that she was safe. But it turns out that that guy was not safe. And so in the dream that you were able to see a little bit of, Layla ended up getting one of the statue that Audrey had tucked away. It ended up falling out of her bag in like a struggle. And Layla ended up killing the guy by like bashing him in the head with this artifact. But then there was two issues. One, there's a dead guy, and two, the artifact is now bloody, and there's no way that they can take that back to
like any archaeologist.
Yeah, like they can't, like it's fresh blood, like they're gonna know. So they had to ditch the artifact, which like as archaeologists they were having like wild qualms about, because it's like a piece of history, but it just got left in the streets of Morocco, and they just had to like hope that nobody else saw. But
Wild.
Layla saved Audrey's life, and so then that like seed of like hatred started really growing, because now she felt like she owed Layla. Not only was Layla better than her in like basically every single way, but she also owed her life. Damn. So fast forward, Audrey has literally married a guy because of his last name, so that on research papers, her full name is Audrey A. Abernathy. so that she's like the first person that you see.
Damn.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And she is a professor at Harvard, and so is Layla. But Layla gets to go on all of the digs because Layla speaks fluent Arabic. And so they send her to Egypt. And so that like continuation of just like utter hatred keeps going. And nothing that Audrey's done will convince Harvard to send her on anything, even though like the dig in Spain, as far as they know, went perfectly. There's no reason why she shouldn't be able to go. But there's just, everybody feels like there's something off about her, so they don't send her. And when she hears the news that Layla's ship got wrecked, she's like, at first she's excited, right? Because she's like, great, this is now something I don't have to deal with. Like, I can be the best now. But then she kind of starts going crazy a little bit because she's like, martyrdom in any sort of fashion is like the way to fame. So then she starts freaking out because she's like, oh, everybody's going to like praise Layla for being this like amazing archaeologist that died at sea. And like, how awful is it that we lost such a great mind in such a terrible way, right? But then when she gets the letter and they're like, hey, she might be alive, she's like, oh, sick, she's finna not be. And then all of our story happens when they have the out-of-body experience. She's like, fuck, Layla isn't the one that's dead. She's really hoping that, like, the whole time she's hoping that the fourth one that didn't make it is Layla. She finds out that that's not the case. And so when she goes to slip away in the asylum, she was already too crazy at this point, but the whole goal was to smother Layla so that she could not deal with it.
Okay.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's fucking wild.
Oh my god.
I was
thought
wondering why you
Dahlia
were
was
trying to
fucked
like
up.
slip away. I was like, just wait your turn.
Yeah.
Same. I was like, I mean, you can. It's not going to take very long. Okay.
Yeah. Which is also why it was unfortunate that
Everyone was.
I was
staring at
already
you.
crazy because I was like feasibly, I don't think she could have carried it out. Even if you guys didn't come when you did, you guys, because I don't know that she was like with it enough in that moment because of the dumb fish that she like would have been able to
Unlucky
carry it out.
Fish dinner.
So, but again, she finna because everybody else thinks she's dead already. So,
Oh my god, are you still going to kill her? Going to push her in front of a train? Okay. That makes
He
sense.
said, read my mind.
And she's sleeping. It's not even going to be hard.
You just
No.
got to put her on the tracks. and
Mhm.
Just,
Yep.
but yeah, that's it.
that's like
damn.
best case scenario for me. Honestly.
Yeah.
I hope the fish guy doesn't kill you.
I know when Joseph was like, he's not a fish guy, like in the taxi, I was like, oh, they haven't.
Would
Please,
have been like, no, the fish.
this is all I've wanted this whole game is for Layla to not exist. So,
I have one last question. You sent me 2 YouTube videos.
Oh, yeah.
What was that about? Because you told me to get headphones,
Yeah.
like separate headphones, so that then I could listen to this during.
Yeah.
Yes.
If the fight scene started happening in Hammond Castle, I was thinking like maybe cut you off from everyone else's conversation, and that's some really weird music.
Ooh. Okay.
And
is it the album?
it is.
No. Okay, you guys. This album literally made me have a mental breakdown in the car. And like, I know I'm dramatic. I am not being dramatic when I say Joseph and I were coming back home from Massachusetts on our like little trip that we did, right? And I was like so calm. I had been able to be by the sea and I was like, wow, I'm a cured woman. No mental health issues here. And we're driving back home and he starts playing this album and I'm literally sobbing like because I've never had such a visceral reaction to anything ever, but especially music, and I literally could not handle it.
What is it?
I'm gonna be listening to this.
It was
after.
it was literally like the worst experience of my life. We were talking about it this morning
Yeah.
when we were driving to go help some of the Nova people, right?
Mhm.
And because I saw the name of the artist and I was like, why does that make me angry? And then he like mentioned that he finally listened to this album. And I was like, oh, that album? And I'm literally like sitting in the car and I'm like shaking a little bit. And I like wanted to vomit. Like
Jesus
I have never had such a wild reaction to anything ever. And then Joseph pointed out that it's kind of like Midsummer-y.
Yeah.
And
Have you guys seen that movie?
I've seen parts and pieces.
Midsommar.
Oh,
I
Yeah,
think
the
he's
Atta
right.
Stoop.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one.
I've seen that.
But I think that's part of why it just like was
Yeah.
not it for me.
That's
'Cause-
kind of the reaction I had to that little clip of that song.
I was literally
Was her
like
reaction, but
crying and laughing,
And
but
like, why?
mainly crying because I like literally like my brain could not process this music. It was like horrific. So,
Yeah, definitely gonna be listening. to
and
this whole
honestly,
thing.
maybe you guys will listen to it and you'll be like, okay, Misty, but I literally had a mentee bee in the car. Like I was dying.
No, it's pretty fucking weird. Like, I like weird music. This is on a whole nother level because it's so Bjork, I think I'm saying her name right, is an Icelandic singer.
Mhm.
And then this other group, the like, oh man, I want to say it's the Dirty Phonographs, Dirty something.
Dirty Projectors.
Dirty Projectors. They're super weird too. And just the combination of the two, it feels like that screaming scene in Midsummer where,
For any of you who've seen it. But
Who've
if you
seen it.
haven't, we're not going to ruin it because
Yeah.
it's very good and also
Yeah.
terrifying.
there's a scene where a bunch of people are crying in unison and like sobbing in unison, and it's super creepy.
Yeah. That's what the
And
whole album
that's what
feels
the
like.
album
what's the
feels like.
album?
It's music, kind of.
We'll probably put it in Discord with no context.
Yeah.
Ugh. Anyway.
And Misty won't click on it.
I sure won't. I sure won't. That's like the way to send me to an insane asylum.
Yeah, it is.
Story-wise, though,
Mhm.
are we done?
Yeah, I don't think it
Is there anything else that people had questions about for each other or anything? Because I love lore, but I think we should also get into game mechanics
I agree.
because we've
all
been
of your
here for a
characters
hot
were
minute.
really, really good. It was
Yeah.
cool because I think this is the first game that we've actually like had like arguments in characters.
Different
Yeah.
Mm.
So that was
I
fun.
haven't been this excited about a character and like put this much into a character, building it in a long time. So it was cool.
Oh,
I was really excited about the setting and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
That's
fun.
sick.
Yeah.
Like the whole relationship with Vincent and Benny.
Yeah.
I thought was really cool, and then it like got kind of sad as
Yeah, it was
I
so
was getting-
wholesome. And then it was like, oh no,
yeah.
you've chosen different paths.
I mean, I guess I'll be seeing you soon.
yeah, probably. Dead or
Rip.
alive. Probably dead though.
Cool. Mechanics?
Mechanics.
I like them. I
Me
really
too.
enjoy the tiered success.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Regular, half, and fifth.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
That shit's sick.
yeah, that it's a great little system.
I do wish it was named something different though, because
Yeah,
a fifth
regular,
of a
super, and
success
ultra, mega,
sounds
Yeah.
weird, and I'm never gonna remember whatever it's supposed to be called.
Yeah, it's like hard and extreme successes.
Yeah.
I
Regular, hard,
remembered, but
extreme.
it seemed like no one else remembered.
I just
Yeah.
wish that if
Because you would just say super ultra mega.
From the
Yeah.
bottom of my heart, that's what it was called. When I said that, I was saying that from every fiber of my soul.
yeah, I just feel like since they do have names, that should be what's written on the character sheet instead of the reg half and fifth, because
Yeah.
like that
I
means
underst-
nothing to me
I
Okay,
understand
yeah.
it's trying to help us do the math,
Yeah.
for sure.
but they could do regular, hard, extreme, and then in parentheses, half.
Yeah. Like a little
Yeah.
fraction.
Yeah, 1/2, 1/5.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I do like the system of it.
Yes.
Having the
Yeah,
three.
me too.
Also, I appreciate, I guess this isn't a mechanical boon, but I appreciate some stats that aren't common, like like the size.
Yeah, and pow.
Yeah, POW. Like some of the character stats that are uncommon. That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, I like their sanity mechanic. I know a lot of games introduce sanity in different ways. I like that as your sanity went down, like it was like both your resistance and what you had to roll under. I really like that.
Yeah.
They did the same thing.
Me too.
Ooh. Also, I like that intelligence and education are separate things
Me too.
Yes.
because they're
Not
you
the
can
same.
be uneducated, but you can be very smart.
Mhm.
in other
Yeah.
ways.
And I
And
think a
vice
lot of
versa.
games try to call that wisdom and intelligence,
Mhm.
and that just doesn't sit quite right with me. Like, I really like the int and education as
Yeah.
the two sides of that coin.
Yeah, I do too. That was something that I noticed while we were doing character creation, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty sick, actually."
Yeah.
Um,
As the GM, I really like the luck points because I can see like what you guys care about
Mhm.
and like what you're willing to like give away for
Yeah.
I
like
did
certain
not
roles.
use luck very much.
I didn't until the very last
That's all right.
episode.
I only used 4 luck points.
That's crazy. Only 4.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild. I just rolled terribly.
I wish I
all
had.
the time. So
Whenever I
used-
rolled extra, I pushed rolls and then I would fail them.
I used 19 points, and I'm pretty sure all of that was on one roll. I do really like the luck points on the player side of things, just because it's a unique kind of a system, and it's not like Fallout being the only other one really that has luck. It's either all
That
or
we've
nothing. That we've played. With Fallout, like you have 10, and that's kind of it. Their applications are like relatively diverse, but ultimately, like it feels a little bit more like one and done. Whereas with the luck points in this, like you can use this for any of the myriad of skills that you have really on just about any roll other than the luck roll, which I've said it before, I'll say it again, fucking love luck rolls. Yeah, it just seems like it feels like it has more application.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I would disagree with that. I agree that this has a lot of applications. I feel like Fallout did too, though. Like you could use it
To
if I-
re-roll, yeah.
to reroll. You could also use it to switch your place in initiative.
oh,
You could use it to add to a scene. And I don't think you just got 10 outright. Like you have to put stat points in it to get
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like a max of 10. But even with like the re-roll, well, I guess with the re-roll, it's like paying for a chance to go again. Whereas this one, it's like, if I want this success, I just have to spend this much. But I only have so much to use. So you kind of start using it more sparingly.
Yeah.
And then when you introduce the fact that you would have to roll on that same luck, even though I just spent 19 points of it just to make sure that I got a super ultra mega extreme success. Now I'm down lower. I just punched a fish guy in the back of the head.
And I'm in the water.
Are we going in the water?
Thrown in the water.
Well, and I like that you can use your luck. And I know you could. I guess I don't know. I believe you can do this in Fallout 2, where like if you got a success on a roll, but you wanted it to be like extra success, you can like add something to that scene or whatever with your luck. But like I really liked this, where it was like I've already got a success, but I'm worried that
It's not enough.
that's not enough. So I'm going to use a little bit more luck to be like, actually, this is the one time that I paid attention in that one random pottery class that I took.
I know everything about this.
I actually know lots about horsehair pottery. Thank you very much. Right. And I like that you can kind of like use that and spin it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just a huge fan of like luck mechanics
luck
in
mechanics, yeah.
general. And also the push mechanic.
That shit's sick.
I
That's
Yeah.
love the push mechanic.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I feel like something that's like actually super duper unique, at least in my opinion, based off of the games we've played so far, is the push mechanic.
It's definitely
I
one of the things I would say to
Love. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so good.
Because it's equal risk for equal reward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's either, you try again, sure, but if you fuck up again, like
steal. It's basically you're trading a crit fail, like risk of a crit fail, to like
have
A normal success.
yeah,
potentially better.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
potentially.
for
better.
another chance of success.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I really like because it feels kind of like the Devil's Bargain mechanics in
Blades in the Dark.
Blades in the Dark.
Yeah, it does.
Where like from the GM side, it's like, ooh, what do I get to do to them? And like I have to think on the fly a lot of times, but usually it's pretty easy to tie it to, oh, you messed this up. This is the
Now he was having fish for
worst
dinner.
thing that could happen.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was awful. That was so sad.
yeah,
But I also like it as a player because I feel like it gives you the
It's like,
how do I say this? Like you get to mess with your own fate a little bit more because of it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And so like if you choose to push the roll and you're successful, it's such a smart mechanic because if you're successful, you get this like little buzz of like it's kind of like gambling.
Yep.
Which I've never gambled, so maybe this is a bad comparison. But from what I've heard from people who do, it's like I haven't lost yet.
Mhm.
So like I'm going to keep doing it,
Yeah.
right? And like
I'll just roll what I want.
and then you don't
Yeah,
and then you're
fuck.
like, "Oh no."
Yeah, like when I had a 95, and I was like, I'll push the roll easy, because the number I had to get was like 70,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got a 91, and I was like,
Oh.
no.
It's
I was
also-
ready to spend the 21 luck.
That's
But then
the
I
other
couldn't.
thing that I think it like makes it pretty well balanced is you can't use luck on the push roll
Yeah.
at all.
yeah.
Because it would be pretty broken,
Yeah, if you could.
but
just-
people would run out of luck a lot faster.
True.
Yeah.
That's a
that is
good
true.
point.
But
So it's
regardless,
still
I
a
still
trade-off,
like
but
it.
not that.
I think
like,
it's good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like it also makes you feel more of like a master of your own fate, if that
Yeah.
makes sense, in that like it's not the GM who's punishing me for a bad roll necessarily, right? Like it's I'm the one who rolled stupid.
Yeah.
But then on the reverse of that, like if you're having a bad time with your die and or I guess it's dice in this case, you're rolling two. So if you have a bad time with your dice and you're like, "Oh, that was a bad roll. Let me just try it real quick." Like you don't get to do that in most games. And it's just like if your dice suck and that's that, even if you're really good at something, right? But there was a point, I can't remember if it was archaeology or if it was spot hidden or something like that. One of the ones that I have a lot of points in. And similar to what Stevie was saying, like had a bad roll. And then I was like, well, it was probably just my dice. Like I'm really good at this skill. And then I rolled it again and I still didn't get it. It was like, oh, okay. Now I have to accept that fate because I
Yep.
did get 2 turns. And I know that that's like, it's still like
No, it's-
randomized dice giving you that thing, but it felt more like this.
it
Now
wasn't-
I can incorporate this into my decision making as my character, or I can explain it away and be like, oh, well, she's tired right now. She doesn't want to think about dead things. But like in the event where you're just rolling the one time, it gets really disheartening sometimes when you're like, but my character's good at this. And like, you just kind of have to take a crappy roll.
It feels more like, oh, okay, I'm just not meant to pass this roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also nice because it like, and this like obviously different people will feel differently about this. I like that like it kind of removes the RNG from crit fails, and that sense of autonomy is really nice because like at every point you can just fuck up, but choose not to fuck up majorly, right?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
really nice, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, and sometimes you're like, fuck it, it's worth it. I'll just roll what I want, and it's just there's something really like I guess there's something really refreshing about being in control of your own crit fails that like I haven't seen reflected in any other game, and so I think that's a lot of the reason why I like it so much.
That's a good point, yeah, because like
You don't.
with
you can choose never to take a crit fail opportunity.
Yeah,
and
good
that
point.
that kind of means then that like the GM, when they see like, oh, you failed at a charm check to like, I don't know, try and like woo the barkeep,
My bodice.
like rather than them like throwing you out automatically like you might see in some other systems, like with this one it's just kind of like, oh, you failed it,
The price is the price.
the price is the price, sorry bud. And then that's it. But if you wanted to push it, then you would get thrown out if you fail again. And that, like, having the initial consequences not
you
as
don't
severe.
get what you want, and then now it's like, well, now you're pissing off the other party.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
I
nice.
do really like that.
Yeah, like with the cop showing up at the gun store.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I loved that. I did not know that that's how I wanted to go with that. But I was like, he crit failed in a gun store, failed like
Trying to buy a gun.
trying. Yeah, there's a cop there. They're definitely.
Yeah, I was like, he just spawns in from behind a shelf or something.
Yep.
It was wild. I was not ready for that.
Yeah, but then like when things like that happen again, like you're like, yeah, well, I mean, I did push my luck, and that's on me. You're right.
Yeah,
there
right.
totally was a cop. Murphy's Law says, yeah,
Yeah, Schrodinger's cop.
yeah, huge fan of that.
Cool.
Other things. I guess we're not moving on to cons yet. I'm just struggling to think of anything I don't like, really.
So moving down to the skills, what do you guys think about having this many skills and not writing, like, they aren't all default on your character sheet either? Like-
I like them. I think it would be hard if you had like a party of only one or two,
Yes.
unless you made your run really focused on like those, like the two characters' different skill sets. But I could see it like becoming challenging the less players you have. But I think it's also cool when you have like 4 or more, because then like different players have a chance to shine at different things.
Yes.
I think that's really, really cool.
also,
I like the skills.
yeah, I think the skills are cool. Having a lot of them makes a lot of sense. I will say in a gameplay way, it does suck if just whatever you're dealing with in this moment in time just doesn't really apply to your character whatsoever.
Oh, like
I would have had to actually search for a way to involve welding or mechanical repair in this entire storyline, which I do fully understand that there's a lot of times in which your character just isn't going to be able to like use all of their skills. But in a game like this, where you're not really going to be able to like improve in other areas quite as easily as in some systems, it does feel a little bit bad.
I would say I think that happens in a lot of games though.
Right, but that's still
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the way that this game improves on that crappy feeling that other games don't is the fact that I can try for any of these things regardless of whether or not I have an actual
Like you've trained it.
train in it. Because we always use Pathfinder as like the example, right? But unless you have like a goated GM, you're not supposed to be able to roll on things that you don't have.
on some of the train.
On the trained skills, yes.
But
Right,
still,
and I
there's
think
nothing
that's
like that
BS
here.
because if
Yeah.
I'm not trained in bows, let's say, I don't know if I'm not going to remember things
well,
off the
they're
top of my
more
head.
knowledge rolls.
It's almost
But-
completely just knowledge skills and
Yeah, but,
training
like-
and
Sure,
that,
but,
and all
like-
of that you need is just one skill point.
Sure.
And all of your levels.
No,
Sure.
I think it's pretty. I think
it
it's a pretty
sucks.
dumb mechanic because
Like-
anyone can try anything one time and
Yeah.
get lucky.
Just think
And
of
there's
the
not a
random
luck
knowledge
mechanic
I
in
have.
Pathfinder that I can.
That means
Try
that you
and-
have put a skill point in one skill point in there, and that would represent.
I don't
Your
know.
knowledge.
Okay, but
in
I'm
that.
not going to put a skill in crocodiles because Wayne Damon told me that you can push down its palatal
well, that's-
valve.
that's exactly
and I
what I'm
have that
saying.
information.
Like I don't need to know things to just say, "Oh, fuck it, I'll try this," and be right sometimes.
Yeah. Like, I think
Yeah.
a good example in this game in particular is like the drive auto, right? Like we established that like not everybody has like actual experience driving a car, but like you've probably seen it enough times of other people driving, whether they've driven you or you've just watched them down the road, that if you had to hop into a car, there is a chance that you could like sputter your way down the road.
Yeah, you just
And-
move,
and
you've
even
seen him move the lever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You know you're
the car
supposed to move
actually
the lever.
factually won't blow up if I don't have 1 point in drive auto, right?
Yeah.
Or with a Colt, right? You get a 5% automatically with a Colt. Like your grandma's brother talked to you once about this random Colt that he heard of in the newspaper. And that's where your 5% comes in. But you still get to be like, is it that Colt? Is it that one thing that I heard about when I was 4? Whereas I feel like a lot of other games don't allow you that opportunity. So I agree, bringing it back, I agree that like it does kind of suck when like your specific
Your niche.
isn't accounted for all the time, or a specific thing that you put a lot into, like you don't get to use. But I do like that if you think your character would try anyway, you can try. Because like,
Yeah, being robbed of even the attempt feels pretty bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. But also agreed where it's like, oh man, I put all my stuff into appraisal and I never got to appraise
I
one
never
thing.
got to swim
Yeah.
or throw anything.
Yeah.
There was so much water.
Or like,
That's not too
You
late.
really should have
Bro,
gone
if I
to
was-
church.
thank heavens Layla wasn't really like the character I played, but she had a lot in horseback riding. like, so
Someone
That-
would have had a stable.
maybe, but like not that we saw.
I had
Yeah.
a 60 drive auto, but we came here on train, so I couldn't really justify
I had a
bringing my
45.
family vehicle, that the vehicle that my parents got for me. Couldn't really justify it because we took a train here. So
Oh.
at no point in time
I didn't
would it
realize-
have made sense for me to bring this vehicle with me.
I was hoping that you guys would try and steal.
Yeah, I was gonna say we could have
Sleeper's
stole
car,
the sleeper's
though.
car.
He's
I
a
honestly
homie.
am surprised we didn't.
He's
I
a
thought
homie,
about it
why would
numerous
we?
times.
If it were George,
I thought
would've,
we would
I'd
have
be
at some point
like,
too.
I need
I was
that
like, the
car.
one car
I'm probably-
unattended, kind of. Like, surely at some point we'll steal this. And if I wasn't being surrounded by all sides by fish people or witches at the end of the game, I would have thought about it. But I didn't want to go back. I just wanted to leave. Although, yeah, I do think.
Oh my god, yeah, we should have stole this car.
I don't think that's a game specific issue though. For me personally, like it's like making a sailor character in Pathfinder and then never going on the water, right? Like
Yeah.
I think that can be remedied by, and some people have like different varying levels of issues with this. But if Joseph was like, this is gonna be, I don't know why this would be the case, but just use a wild example. This is gonna be Cthulhu meets Speed Racer. Like a lot of us would probably have at least some points in Drive Auto, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like similarly with Pathfinder, I'm not gonna take the water related feats if my DM says, hey, you're probably not gonna be on the water a lot.
You're gonna be in the middle of a
Alternatively,
desert.
if he says you're pirates, then I'm gonna go find the One Piece. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who had their nose first. I think you
It was
did.
Damien.
Okay.
Oh, I did just want to say, like, it is. I'm going to say Pathfinder's probably in the same boat, but it does kind of become an issue when you have limited amounts of like skill points that you can put into these skills, and they have a half, 3/4 of a page that is just skills. When you have that many different options, it becomes hard to really either. You're going to want to probably like not specialize in anything and then just get like 30% across the board where like I'm kind of good at everything, but not really. Or you're going to want to specialize in things so that then you can be like good at your professions, but then those professions just not coming up. I don't think there was a single anthropology role or a disguise.
I never used
Electrical
law.
repair, there was one.
I had 20 in law.
Yeah, there's just a lot of different
Oh, those are
options
a lot of
on
dogs.
here. When you have dare I say it.
Oh,
When
there
you
we go.
have the number of skills as you have in some lesser system like Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, it becomes a lot easier because when you put your proficiencies in these things, it's not as impacting because there aren't 40 different skills. There's 10? 15? Okay, please, go ahead.
Mine
chew
is
my ass.
unrelated, so I'm gonna let you guys pop off.
Is yours related? Mine's
Yes.
also related.
Tear me a new one. Go for
Yeah.
it.
So, from a DM perspective, I like that you guys aren't good at things, especially with this being a horror game. Cthulhu, Call of Cthulhu does have a pulp variant where you get a ton more skill points, you get a ton more HP points, and it's more like Indiana Jones where you try and punch the big evil monsters. And I feel like that is more fun for that sort of story, but I really like the helplessness that making you specialize in things really gives you, because you get put in situations where you're like, I'm not good at any of these things. Like the library for most of you was like, I don't know if I'm gonna find anything in here.
The opposite
And
was
that's, like,
true when
real
we went to
life.
fight Hammond. I literally could not have helped you even if I wasn't freaking out over a fish. Like I have never hurt anyone
And I was in my
up
zone.
to that point.
But you're about to throw Layla in front of a train.
Yeah,
Oh, she's asleep.
I've been plotting this for a long time.
Yeah, you have.
But it's different, right? Because she's asleep. That's why
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like,
There's no
saying, like,
fight
I don't know
involved.
that I would have been able to kill her in the asylum,
Yeah.
even if I had wanted to, because, like, she was just a little bit less atrophied than I expected, and she would have smoked me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not scrappy. So when you guys were like going to fight, I was like, kind of, it's nice that I'm freaking out on the floor over here, because that's what I'd be doing anyway. But it's
Yeah.
less embarrassing because at least I'm scared of fish now.
I feel like in Pathfinder, feats are the same way. There's a fuck ton of feats that are very specific that you will never use unless you're in a very specific situations. And also, like, from a player's perspective, I like that I'm only good at the things I'm good at with the party, because it's like when you're playing, like when I'm going through an area that is archaeology the dungeon, I can be like, fuck man, I wish Audrey was here, instead of being like, oh, it's okay, we all are good at archaeology for no reason. Like, you know what I mean? Like, characters feel more special and distinct because they have unique talents to me in this game, right? Like, if everyone was good at everything, if everyone's special, no one's special, right? So it's nice to have like these distinct, like, he's good at this, she's good at this. That way the party can truly complement each other, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's kind of saying like along the same lines, because like people aren't good at everything.
Mhm.
Like Dewey is good at conflict, and like talking to people, but not good at reading and getting information into her brain from the reading. So like I was useless in the courtroom, the court thing. But
Yes.
like,
It also plays into like when she saw the thing in the back of his head, like only that character saw it, and we can roleplay that and be like, yo, I'll see this. But it's like when everybody just has to put points into perception and then everyone's perceiving things, it's like it's kind of just like a mesh of a stat. I personally really like the uniqueness.
I have a qualm.
Ooh,
She's
okay.
qualming,
It's really silly, but I'm gonna say it because
'cause
that's why we have a
yeah.
podcast. I really wish that fighting (parentheses brawl) was just brawl.
yeah, I don't know why.
I don't know if that's just our table specifically saying brawl all the time, but in my opinion, it makes sense to have the different fighting blank spaces so that you can
Oh.
be like, oh, I'm really good at fencing. But like brawl in particular, I feel like should be just brawl, and it should not be in the F's, because every time I went to search for it,
Okay.
Valid.
I would be looking for punching or brawl right? And usually I'd be looking for brawl. So it bothered me that was not a B word. That's, like I said, nitpicky as fuck. But my little neurospicy brain said, I don't like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I think it's supposed to take up like your unarmed strike type deal. But that does make sense. I didn't think of that. Because on your brawl, I guess it does have it also written down there. Yeah. Never mind. I was gonna say because on your brawl it doesn't say it, but it does. But that's like at the bottom, which is why I would look. But yeah, if you're looking for the skill,
I guess
that makes
if
sense.
it would make more sense if it said like fighting handgun, fighting rifle/shotgun. Like if it had fighting parentheses, whatever weapon you're fighting with, maybe it would make a little bit more sense. But yeah.
Well, I like it makes sense to me that they're melee and then guns. But I agree. The fact that like they auto give you brawl like makes it sound like it should be in its own slot, right? Because the other blank spaces would be like fighting I don't know, fucking deep one spear guy, like that weapon, fighting fucking lead pipe, right? And whatever bonuses those give you. But yeah, it is weird that it's already on your sheet and it's called brawl, so you just end up calling it brawl in your head. But then when you look at the B's, you just have I don't know whatever B skills are there.
There's no B skills.
Yeah, never mind.
And that was the other thing is I was like, it would have been so easy to find. It would be the only B. But yeah, that's like my one qualm. But to back that up with a positive, I love that first aid and medicine are separate things.
Yes.
I know we talked about that at some point. I don't remember if it was on mic or not, but I think it's so sick that those are separate things. Because like, I'm so good at putting Band-Aids on people. I am so good at getting splinters out.
Yes, she is.
I can't operate on someone.
Right? I don't know how. I can't just be like, you need this medicine.
Yeah, it's like 200
I can
milligrams of
tell
this.
that you have this problem.
Yeah.
Unless it's like ibuprofen. I'm like, you hurt? Take some ibuprofen.
Old family
If it's
recipe.
inflammation.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool distinction that honestly, I kind of wish more games had, especially combat heavy games, because I feel like
Everyone
There's-
has first aid knowledge.
Yeah.
like you would hope, right?
Yeah.
Like you probably shouldn't be going out into battle if you don't know how to put a Band-Aid on. But at the same time, I shouldn't necessarily be inherently good at medicine if I'm not the medic person, or I don't have like whatever reason to put into it. So I think that's really cool. And I also really like the listen skill specifically.
Me too. I used
think
it a
it's
lot.
cool.
It's sick.
I just like
Also
I
think-
like to be listening.
Yeah.
I like people watching.
And I also
so
like-
personally, I think that's a cool skill.
I like that listen and spot hidden are two separate skills, and it's not just perception.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have eyes. Sometimes you have ears.
Sometimes you don't have either.
Sometimes you're blind and deaf.
And you're
Ripped
going
off.
to the island.
What?
Yeah, what island?
Shadows of Astern.
Oh, right. Blind, deaf, and
Oh,
mute.
yes.
Yeah.
You can only use one sense at a time sometimes.
You can smell everything.
Man, to enjoy a meal, you got to turn everything else off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be blind
That's rough.
and deaf. And
But to
smellless.
like, eat your mom's like really disgusting food.
easy peasy.
Right?
you
Yeah.
gotta do is
I
see
just
it.
want to listen.
Yeah. Oh, that would be sick. Because then you could just like eat
For
for
nutrients?
nutrition. Yeah. Couldn't be me in real life, though. But
I stay guzzling Diet Cokes. Nutritious.
I do disagree about the first aid and medicine in combat heavy games. I feel like combat heavy games. There's a clear distinction between combat heavy games and then investigation heavy games. This is definitely an investigation heavy games, hence the shitload number of skills that we have. Like that are broken down into all of these small subcomponents and everything. With combat heavy games, that's I think less of the focus is having a whole bunch of different skills in this context. That being said, I would have liked to see a little bit more combat in this game because you handed me a firefight cheat sheet.
I did.
And it looks like there's a lot of really interesting things in here, like diving for cover gives penalty die. firing into melee, if the target is large, etc., etc. And that would have been really cool to try out, but I mean, just the story didn't make sense for us to get into that too much.
And you guys dodged
We dodged
Yeah.
violence a lot.
all
Yeah.
of the violence. Yeah.
Anytime
We were
there
like,
was anything
"Worms?
that could have
No."
led to conflict, we were like, no, I'm good.
Get in an actual fight with him and then all that business? No, just shoot him.
Shoot him in the back.
Yeah.
Don't shoot the fish.
And I think this game
Oh.
really lends itself to that,
Yeah.
especially with the wound system being as brutal as it is,
Mm-hmm.
where like Audrey's, fallen down and got hit by a stick and she's almost dead. And
Relatable.
like one gunshot, dropped Hammond, and the second one was definitely more than enough.
Mhm.
Like I really like that, and I think that makes combat scary again,
Mhm.
which is something that's hard to do in a lot of these fantasy and sci-fi games, because you do have like a shield or you've got potions that can fix everything
Mhm.
right after the fight. And that's something I really enjoy about this system is
Mhm.
how scary it is to get into combat.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, to caveat on that though, it's also not so deadly that you have a situation like Morkborg where you almost run in expecting to die at every single turn and just say, oh, F it, I'll just roll up a new character. Like, you're still attached to your character.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And thus makes it like the actual fear of dying rather than some of the other like super deadly games that are out there.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was really cool actually because of what probably going to die before getting to my ultimate goal meant for my character. I had never really had to think about that before. Because like you watch yourself dying instead of it being like in Pathfinder, for example, right? Like you might be in a combat situation and then like you roll a couple times and there's like, it's tense in that moment. And then you're like sad if you die, but you don't really have like time to think through what that means for your character's like long-term goals necessarily. At least I haven't. But with this, it was like I've been thinking about my inevitable death since I broke my arm, because I was like, oh, I'm at half hit points now and I broke my arm. Like, holy cow, what's next, right? And so it gave me the opportunity to be like, okay, like what would I do if I knew I was going to die and my ultimate goal is to be known by the archaeology community. And so like I, in the background, had started making sure that I kept my journal with me so that if I were to die, either I could give it to one of you guys to give to Layla so that she could publish it, or so that Layla could, like, I could personally give it to Layla if I ended up dying in the asylum. But like that was something that I got to think through and be able to be like here's my last will and testament, essentially, right? Like, and that was kind of cool to be able to explore, because pretty much any other game, you get to heal relatively quickly. So if you didn't die in combat, like you're probably okay. But like I was on 2 hit points. We ended the game with me at 3. But like that really easily could have been, I stubbed my toe and that was just like,
Yeah, and we still got lucky. Like, we had to stabilize you twice, right?
Yeah.
So you still could have died just on the way to the asylum.
and like that was just because for some crazy reason you guys rolled well.
Really well twice.
So it was like added, I guess, that element of horror in that aspect too, because like I'm sitting over here being like, if I go out, how how reach goal, which like
Can't reach your
normal
goals when you're
people
dead.
do when confronted with their own death. So I thought that was kind of cool to have that be like a slow thing.
Yeah, and if you failed those first aids, then you do a constitution roll. If you fail, you die. If you pass, they get another chance at first aid. And that goes until you die or you stabilize, essentially. Yeah, because you are like actively bleeding out in front of them. Yeah.
I'm a really big fan of slow heal games. I wish I got to experiment with it more in Shadows of Asterin, but it was fun to see it in this too, because it's like even in games where combat is a little more like encouraged, like if you're a little more combat centric characters, you can go into your first combat fine, but then you take 6 points of damage and you heal them slowly. So like even though you're still like combat capable, you might be more willing to look for non-violent means to your end if you're not healed up pretty high, right? Especially if the antagonists look pretty healthy in that moment, right? So I think it's a really cool way to balance, like, do I want to kill everything or do I want to like talk everything? And I think slow healing is a good way to encourage not just killing everything.
Yeah,
I agree.
definitely.
I think another way that Call of Cthulhu is very good about discouraging just wanton violence is so many of the monsters are just so much stronger than you guys.
Yeah, you were telling us about those stats, and I was like, what?
Yeah, the Shoggoth has like 60 something hit points and 400 strength, and just like there's no way that you could fight that thing without knowing what it is and going like after the specific traits.
An example, I have 9 hit points.
Yeah.
Yeah, 60 is the fuck ton.
It's
And
crazy that you only
400
have
strength
9.
is crazy.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, I have
beyond
45
human
strength.
limits. Yeah, literally 4 times beyond human limits.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Crazy.
Which is also
Yeah.
cool because I was talking about this earlier off mic, but it's like in a lot of combat games, everyone knows running away is an option, but it's like no one wants to run away. And in this game, it's very easy to be like, yeah, I'm fucking leaving.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
dealing with that.
Bye.
And,
This weird dude, this giant pharaoh, just split the ship in half.
I'm swimming away
Yeah.
as quickly as possible. And yeah, it's fun. It just felt like a very like normal reaction. Like it felt very like cling to life type esque.
Yeah.
Whereas like in a lot of like other games, like kind of like what Missy was saying, you don't really have that fear of death in character as much as you do in this game, which is cool.
Yeah.
And you definitely could, but in this game, it's just like it's more apparent, right?
Yeah,
So-
and it's like baked into the rules.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the setting is just cool. Like, I know
Yeah.
that Lovecraftian stuff is like not new.
Mhm.
I've never dealt with it, other than Cthulhu's a dude. Like, that's like basically what I knew before Joseph like talked to me a little bit about some of the lore prior to him like actually really starting to prep for the campaign. And I was like, oh, okay, that's sick. But actually, like, it's really cool how robust it is.
Yeah.
And I understand why there's such a buzz around Lovecraftian stuff now, to the point where I'm like, oh, like, maybe this is something that I would like to read some more of, or whatever. I'm kind of a baby, so we'll see, because I'm like, I get scared.
Dude,
But
we've got them on Audible.
I know.
And they're short stories.
I know. But I really
there's
like
also the
that.
TV show Lovecraft Country that I'm going to be watching after this.
Ooh.
I've heard good things.
It looks awesome.
Yeah. And I just think, I don't know, I like stumbling on like really thought out settings and lore. And I know like I didn't discover Cthulhu, but for me, like I didn't know anything about it. So now I'm intrigued. It feels very similar to like when I first started learning about Lord of the Rings as a kid and being like, what? It goes how deep? And like, I think there's something to be said about that in particular. And it makes sense to me why this is on its 7th edition, because it's, first of all, a really well-made game, I think, overall. And that shows through it being on a 7th edition at this point. But I think also just the setting and like the lore behind it in general makes sense to me why so many people have loved this game and continue to love it and continue to play either specifically Call of Cthulhu or any other Cthulhu type games. I'd be definitely interested in playing some other versions to see how like those mechanics work out. Because like you were talking about with the like pulp Cthulhu type idea, I would be interested in seeing like how that changes. But based off of Call of Cthulhu specifically, like, I don't know, it's sick. It's really nice. And I think also it's nice to like have gone from a game that I wasn't super enamored with once we were finally playing to playing this game, which is like, I don't like scary things very much and I know nothing about, and like every week being so excited to play this game in particular. I feel like, I don't know, I just really liked it. And I was not expecting to like it as much as I did.
Neither was I.
But like I would play this again numerous times. Like if this was like a long-standing thing, I would be very, very happy.
So that's one thing I also want to talk about. What do you guys think of this as a campaign? Because I think everyone just touched their nose. Like most of the table wants to talk. Because I liked doing this as a campaign, but I feel like there were a couple of places where I had to stretch to make the storyline make sense. And there were a couple of times where I wish it was a one shot, so I could have like killed off the entire party or had.
You got to do that in the beginning.
I did. I did.
Yeah, you want to kill us twice, bro?
Yeah.
I
do.
Wow. And I think horror works really well when you do have that one shot type fear of death. So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I have two thoughts.
Okay.
First thought, I do not think I would like it as a one shot.
Okay. Why not?
Because that fear of death that you just talked about, I do not have when it's a one shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm like, I don't have to care about this character. Go ahead and kill it. Oh no, still was enjoyable to play. However, I think having it be a shorter game makes a lot more sense to me than having it be like a very, very, very long campaign. Because I think a very long campaign, in that you're playing the exact same characters, you're investigating the same exact thing, whatever, for let's say 50 plays. That feels like it would be way too much and it would get annoying and kind of repetitive, and it'd be like, yeah, okay, I get it. They're tentacles out of their eyeballs. Like, I hate it. Fine. But I felt like the length that we ended up doing, I would say anywhere from like 5-ish times of playing to about where we ended, for me, feels like it would be a good story length for this, because you get to stay dedicated to your character, you're invested in it, and if they die, like, you have the chance to be like, oh man, that sucks. Do I create a new one, or do I just kind of sit and see how the rest of this goes? And me personally, I would not be bored had Audrey died when she broke her arm. I would have been just as happy to sit here and be like, what's going to happen to you guys, right? But at the same time, you also get like an extended period of that like scariness, and that type of stuff gets to build.
Yeah.
Because for me personally, while I'm a scaredy pants, I feel like just playing the one shot wouldn't be as scary to me. Obviously, like, there's ways to up that, but like, I feel like what was scary was like, for me personally, and I guess that is the subjective part of this I guess it's all subjective, but you know what I mean. Like, I don't like being followed, right? So like,
Yeah.
having our stuff searched through and then having those people always outside watching us, and then having like this eerie feeling that like, are the dogs actually dogs in Dogtown? Like,
Yeah. Oh, I loved that theory, by the way.
That was sick.
and knowing
That's
that
still my
like
headcanon.
the church people were kind of weird, and also knowing that Hammond needed us but also hated us, like that building was really what like started freaking me out, because I was like, I'm being watched and I'm missing something. Like, what am I missing? Whereas I feel like you can't really build that type of stuff in like a one shot.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
You'd have to just kind of have like direct horror, not any kind of suspense.
yeah, exactly.
Like you could do like immediate suspense. You'd be like, you walk in, there's blood on the floor, that kind of thing. But you can't like really mess with people's minds. And you don't have like a week in between where you're like, what are they going to poison me with the tea?
yeah.
They invited me into tea. I'm going to have tea with the witches.
Yeah.
What's going on?
And you don't have like a baseline started, right? Because like every time we went to Hammond's, the butler answered the door, right? And so then when we came to Hammond's castle and you were like, and the butler's dead, and right on the drawbridge, I was like, oh no, what's going on inside? Because that baseline had been built and then it was no longer a thing. And then that like sends my anxious ass into a panic, right? So like, and again, like in a one shot, you can't necessarily
Establish that.
easily establish that. So that's my very long thought on that. Other people had noses though.
I can only speculate at how this would work in a longer campaign. Reason being is because when you have a longer campaign, you're usually talking about having multiple different investigations that are all intertwined in some way, shape, or form. What that also would mean is that there is some kind of a mechanic in between each of these different investigations, such as going to an insane asylum, I think, and like restoring some of your sanity.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think there's like a handful of other
There's like
applications.
going to a hospital, like researching a certain thing. Yeah. There are, like, I don't want to say like time wasting, but like time using activities that you can do in between.
And then as far as your character goes, I know that there are like check boxes next to each and every single one of the skills. How do those work?
Yes. So if you use the skill, you check it, and then it's like whenever the DM decides, you guys can try and upgrade. And grabbing the book, sorry.
Yeah, because I just feel like these bits of information, like, will help me estimate what like a longer campaign would be.
Yeah. So you check the skill. I know it's a roll afterwards, but skill improvement is optional. Okay, so after a few sessions of play, Harvey has checks against several skills. Harvey's player rolls against his stealth skill of 20. She rolls 8, so they do not approve in this ability. So, okay, so when you check the box after however many sessions your DM determines, you then roll, and this is the only time you want to roll high, is you want to roll above your current skill points, and then you roll a d10 to see how much you increase in that skill. Yeah.
Okay. A D10 is a pretty hefty possible amount.
Yeah, 6 on average.
6 on average. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then if you hit 90, You add 2d6 points to your sanity, representing the discipline that it took to get to that skill. And I think that is it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you get 2d6 sanity if you hit 90. So
That is
there are like
interesting.
improvement checks, but yeah, they're optional. I decided not to.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fair. Yeah, I think for a longer term kind of a campaign, I do agree with Misty that it will get a little bit boring if it goes on for too long, or if it's too
15
frequent.
seasons.
Yeah, the 15 seasons, like at that
Supernatural.
point, you really
Yeah.
just need to cut it off at 5. The story was already wrapped up beautifully at that point.
Which Eric Kripke is doing with The Boys. He
And
is
we
saying,
stan.
yeah, he has said that 5 is the final season.
Okay, good.
We're on 4 right now, so I'm excited.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that this game will work perfectly fine in a 3 to 5 shot, not a 1 shot.
Yes, I agree.
3 to 5, short, small, quick little investigation. You're exploring a haunted house. That'll give enough time for the suspense to build between sessions, all of that. I think average time would probably be about the time that we went, so like 10 to 20 kind of sessions. A pretty expansive investigation, a lot of moving parts and everything. For a long-term campaign, because I know that Call of Cthulhu does have a couple different like adventure path-y kind of books. I think that would be cool, and I think it could work, so long as you have. I mean, even if it's just like a palate cleanser kind of a game.
Yeah, I was
between-
gonna say like a Cottages and Cerberuses type
Yeah.
breather.
Because I feel like it'll be really interesting to see your sanity slowly dwindle, and you are struggling between every single investigation, go into that insane asylum, trying to get back as much sanity as you can. It never comes back up till you're starting, though. It's only gonna, I've started at 60. I lost 30 in that last session. I only got 10 back. I'm sitting at 40 going into our next investigation. It kind of really does build on that, like, my character's probably going to die. I don't want them to, kind of a mentality. Yeah, and then I do feel like with a longer term kind of a game, to go back to the skills thing, I think it is fine having unique characters. But in the event that between your 4 characters you're lacking in something that's coming up pretty frequently, having that ability to improve will mean that eventually you'll start to be able to understand some of it, which does kind of feel nice too. And I like the idea of Benny hanging out with Audrey enough that then some of this like anthropology or archaeology stuff starts kind of like rubbing narratively, right? Like rubbing off, and that's how you could start improving in some of that. So yeah, that's my take. I think that this works best in a 10 to 20.
Yeah, I'd say it depends. I think our group tends to be yappy. So I think for us it's 10 to 20. I imagine the average group that is less yappy will each episode, if we consider our session an episode, would probably take like 8-ish sessions, 8 to 10. And I think if I was gonna run this game for like until like Infinity and beyond, I would probably do that. I would have like an arc kind of like this, wrap it up, either the character survive or die, have a palate cleanser, and then go to a completely different arc with completely different characters. It's probably how I would see it best. Like kind of like a series of like short stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think, I don't know, like maybe there's a little bit of a cynical take. I think one thing I do want to know is I think this game is really like kill your players bait, right? For like some DMs that are like that. I think it's very easy. I think for a neutral DM, it's very easy to accidentally kill your players. I think that would be really hard not to run into with this. And I think you're encouraged to do so, right? Because you want to put in scary shit to kill your players, or that like are threatening to your players.
Yeah.
So I do think it will take some balancing if you want to do it like just straight shot like long through with a main cast. But I definitely think it's like I think I would do it episodically. I do think like your table really matters with this game.
Yes.
I think that's always the case though with like more investigation heavy games. Like the table will really make the game.
Yeah, I think that's important with investigation games, but also especially with horror games. Like you're very stressed, right? And like the players like snapping at each other. Like that was fun having y'all like fighting each other as well. But that's not something every table can handle, right?
Yeah, and I think that is another reason why I would put it in like a shorter form game too, because like if you're playing games to like have fun with your friends
and relax
sometimes like doing a little scary game can be fun and can be relaxing, right? In a weird way, because it's not actually you that's in the scary situation, right? Similar to watching a scary movie. But you know, if you don't have like a good group that you feel comfortable with, that can easily turn from a weekly or a monthly hangout into a weekly or monthly dreaded task. And so if you keep it short, your players and honestly the GM as well are less likely to feel that way, and it still gets to be something fresh and exciting. But then also I don't know, it's like if you end, let's say you've played and it's like 7 sessions long and everybody's like, oh, that was so sick, that was a great game, we should play this again. That's what you want your players to end on any game, but I would say especially a horror game, so that you could come back to this genre, you could come back to this game, versus everybody being burnt out and being like, wow, I've been scared for months and I don't want to feel that way anymore.
Yeah.
That way, like, because if you end that way, I can see it very easily becoming like, well, back to 5e. We're never venturing outside of that ever again.
Yeah.
Right. And so you kind of want to like tease it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like
ease them into it.
Yeah. Like here's your little treat. It was kind of scary, but good, right? And then we can come back to it later and again have it be a little shorter thing so that you know you can get back to like a chiller game if your table is needing that.
Yeah.
Like I know I do. I love this game, and also I'm ready for something that is less scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Summer of Side Quests.
Yeah. I do be loving Summer of Side Quests.
Me too.
And I'm excited about our next game.
Starting a little late this time, but that's okay. What is summer, really, but a mindset?
Yeah, especially if you don't go outside like me.
Yeah, true. So your fucking
If you're in air
thermostat to
conditioning
whatever.
all the time, you can pretend it's winter.
Yeah, that's what I do.
As far as I know, like not complexity, but like skill set for players. Like, do we think this is beginner friendly? Do we think it's like more experienced player? And then same with the GM.
I would say for players, it is beginner friendly if you use the PDF fillable.
Yeah.
Because then you don't
That's a
have to
good point.
stress out about doing all the math, and you don't look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so complicated. Because really it's not. In my opinion, like I think as far as playing it goes, once the numbers are down on the sheet, like
Yeah,
it's pretty straightforward. And I don't have to worry about a billion different dice trying to figure out what I need to roll. Like most of the time, it's just the 2 D10s, and love that for me because I don't have to go which one's which. Yeah. And like, unless you start getting into things like combat, like those are kind of mechanics that you get to learn along the way versus some other games where it's like role play and combat heavy. And so you gotta, as a brand new player, you would have to like learn how to role play and also make sure that you know what your spells are and how to fight and all that jazz. With this, I feel like you could ease into any of the like extras and you can
that's
just
a good point.
kind of stick with role playing itself and investigation in particular to begin with. So that's my thought.
Yeah, I think mechanically, I don't think it's very complex. I could see some people having choice paralysis with all the skills, but I think that's like, again, I think that's an issue in a lot of games. Not all games, but a lot of games.
And I will say, like, the occupations do kind of help guide in that aspect.
Well, I think it kind of depends on the new player and what they want, right? Because I think when new people are new to D&D, they tend to heavily lean on the combat aspects of it because they're uncomfortable role playing for the first time. And in investigation games, usually it's hard to escape that, right? They're very role play heavy. So as long as they knew that what they were getting into and they knew that they would be like looking for clues and like talking to NPCs and like forming a relationship with their party, and they were like mentally ready for that, I think this could be pretty beginner friendly. They would just have to know, like, hey man, like, just so you know, this isn't super combat heavy. Like, you will have to like interact, and obviously you can ease them into that, right? Like that's like a table issue, right? Like hopefully the table knows that a player is new or like the table is new. But I've like a lot of new players that I've seen have struggled to get into the roleplay particularly, which is why like I think investigation games are hard for new players just because it's like it might be hard to start role playing.
Yeah, no,
but mechanically I think the game's pretty simple.
That's a good point.
In that, I agree 100%. I do think that you, especially for like newer players, you should caveat that like we'll run through these skills like real quick, but a lot of them are just not used very frequently. So just be okay with like not fully remembering magic points. I think the only time that magic points were even uttered was when the organ was going crazy, and I took 2 magic points damage, which I still don't even understand what that is. But that's something that like for a new player might be like kind of confusing, like wanting to really understand like what like, that means.
I want to cast spells, right? Yeah, which is an option like deeper in the rule set, but
but that's going to be something that's like probably not touched on for a long period of time. So like, I don't know, just because there's a lot of skills, a lot of different characters. Oh damn, there are 8 different characteristics on here.
Yep.
But just with all of that, just like letting them know like this is the general idea.
I think that's also subjective, right? Like I think another group could have gone to magic points like sooner.
I
right?
think it's
so, like,
adventure dependent.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. That's what I mean, right? But yeah, and again, like I think that's, yeah, I think that's like an issue in a lot of games, right? Like I think a lot of games have mechanics that only come up less often than others. So I do think it's good to bring that up all the time, right? Same thing with like, again, like with feats in other games. Like I think it's important to be like, hey, this feat. Like that's why like on that one app it tells you like these feats are most popular because those tend to come up the most, right? So if you don't know what to pick, these are good defaults. But I agree, having a breakdown of like the less used, especially like stats, would be important just to let them know. Like, or if you're gonna use them a lot, be like, hey, you might want to invest in this. It will come up, right? Yeah. Same thing with both boat feats. I feel like
or like if it's gonna come up a lot more, like give a little bit more of an in-depth description, like size. Roughly how big you are, there's a weird calculation with it. That's a perfectly fine description. We never really touched on it. However, if we knew something like, I don't know, the monster is going to damage your size rather than your hit points, it might be a little bit more important to talk about at that point.
Yeah. Sorry, that was really like half baked. Yeah. I mean, I think some of the fun is not knowing that though with this game in particular. Like, I don't want to know that a monster is going to affect my size when I'm making my character.
Yeah,
Right?
no, sorry. I was meaning like when it comes to that,
Mm,
like then starting to explain it a little bit more.
yeah, yeah. I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. For a GM.
Yeah, from the GM perspective, this is not for a beginner GM. I will 100% stand by that. 2 reasons. Mechanically, there are a lot of skills that I need to understand. The combat diagram takes some work to understand. The damage diagram takes some work to understand. The healing process takes work to understand. There's a lot that the GM is expected to know. And even though the players only have, 10 or so skills that they are specialized in, there's 30 skills there. And there's 8 characteristics, and throwing them all and like keeping track of what your players have and like trying to incorporate what they have is really tough mechanically. Second of all, from a role play and like player safety and like just maturity level in general, you got to be more up there to be a GM for this sort of game, because if you're doing it right, you're playing with people's emotions. And if you're doing it right, people are getting stressed. You are touching on things that are uncomfortable, but you don't want to make them too uncomfortable. And like all of that is tough, right? When I was doing the Star Wars game, I didn't have to worry about that barely at all, right? We're all just having fun swinging lightsabers, killing monsters. And this game was definitely more taxing emotionally on me as well. And then
Yeah, I can already see how less stressed you are.
yeah, oh, it's wonderful.
The relief when
Yeah.
it was done.
It was great. I went up on the couch and almost fell asleep. And then also from that role play perspective, investigation games are hard because you have characters that know things that are not going to tell the investigators those things. You have characters that are going to try and mislead the investigators, and how that interacts with the mechanics can be really tough for a GM. So,
Yeah, I second that.
That makes sense.
yeah, so I would say get an experienced GM to run this for you, or start with something else. Start with Pathfinder or D&D. Get that time, right, learning how to do mechanics in more of a fun environment versus a like made to be stressful environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned solo adventures
Yeah.
within Call of Cthulhu.
Oh, yeah.
Did that help you with jamming?
Yes. I really liked the solo adventures. I played Alone Against the Static and Alone Against something else. I really liked Static. That's why I remembered it. And what I liked about those is first of all, they gave you pre-gen characters, and then they Blackwater Creek is the other one I played. It was also very good. But they give you those pre-gen characters, and you realize just how few skills you have and how weak you are as a squishy human being. I also really liked the focus on role play in those, which I know is kind of weird to say from a solo game, but they were very good about bringing the emotion in there and giving me choices that didn't necessarily have skill rules tied to them. Be like, you're gonna fight with your significant other that you've been tense with this entire time, and like those games were rough. They were good. Highly recommend them. There's a bunch of free ones online, so if you don't have a table, or if you just have some free time and want to see what Call of Cthulhu is all about, you can totally get a taste of it doing the solo ones.
We'll have links to those in the in the show notes.
Yeah, we can grab some links for sure.
Cool.
Sick.
Sorry, did we get all of our cons out? I know we talked about it briefly, but I feel like we didn't have an extended discussion about it.
I got all mine out.
I think the cons that I have are just, the generic feels bads of investigator style games, but ultimately, I think it is pretty good. I do think that the setting's decent. The improvement mechanic, even though it's optional, it sounds like it'd be pretty good. The different characteristics, there's quite a few more than normal, but they're all relatively simple to understand. Mm-hmm.
Which I actually really like. I know I didn't bring that up earlier, but even though there's 8 characteristics, I appreciate that they mean what they say they are. Mm-hmm. Your appearance is your appearance. There you go. Mm-hmm. Versus we talked about a little bit earlier, wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
What is it though? There's obviously explanations, but especially as a new player, that can kind of be a little nuanced, because you're well, I'm smart, and they're well, no, that's int, and then you're okay, but my weapon uses wisdom for some reason, and it gets kind of messy. But this, I felt was nice to be able to be I'm just not strong.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that I'm not mentally strong.
I think part of what makes that easy too is the 0 to 100 scale,
Mm-hmm.
because 100 is the human limit. And so when I say I am 50 strong, right, I'm right in the middle. I'm your average Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I don't go by Joe.
Do not ever call him that.
He's just your average
call
Joseph.
him at all.
Yeah.
He's mine.
But yeah, the 50 is your average, right? And anything better than that, hey, you're a little above average. And it's really easy to picture those skills because of that, I think.
Yeah.
I agree.
With a newer player playing Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, right? You've divided it into 20. It's a little bit harder to visualize.
Mm-hmm.
Just multiply it by 5.
Yeah, actually.
Do some math.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One thing that I think would have been cool to delve a little bit more into is the whole credit rating. It's a skill.
Yeah.
Um,
So the fun thing about credit rating is it is pretty much just there so you don't have to think about money.
Mm-hmm.
According to the rule book, they're hey, hand wave as much as you can. You don't want to be counting pennies, but
Unless that's part of your
unless you're broke.
existential dread.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a paranormal investigator because that's how I make my living.
I do think it's kind of silly though, because you have the credit rating, but on the very next page, there's a whole section for wealth with spending level, cash, assets.
Yeah, and those are all built off of the credit rating score.
Oh, okay. So based off of your credit rating, you would have a certain amount of quote unquote cash on hand. Kind of thing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we touched on it a little bit very early on.
Yeah.
I think the first episode with these characters, the characters that we ended with, we talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, I think I ignored it because my character is poor.
We used it for upgrading the
Understandable.
seats. No, it was the initial characters. You used it for upgrading the seats on the boat and stuff like that. Yeah, we touched on it very briefly.
Yeah, no, I do remember that.
I think we also touched on it very briefly when we went to the diner. But it didn't come up a lot, mid to late game. Yeah, I struggle to find fault with the game personally. I think the mechanics are like just really easy to understand, and I really appreciate that in a game. And nothing felt like unfair, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Just
Well-
fix Brawl.
I will say, like, I don't really have any cons with this. Still not my favorite game. Though.
No, I agree. I don't think
Okay.
it's like she's pissed. Listeners,
Misty just stood up.
She's about to punch Damien in the face.
No, I'm not mad. I
fearing for
I
my
just
life.
want everyone to know that I disagree, and I think this is my favorite game we've played.
I was going to
Really?
say, I
Okay.
have had.
The end. I will
don't
sit down now.
really have any issues that like would make me not want to play this game
Mhm.
over any other game. I don't know if I word that right. You guys know what I mean, though.
I know what you mean. We're on the same
Yeah, like,
wavelength.
Yeah.
I enjoy.
I just really like it.
Yeah, I really enjoy the mechanics of it all. I feel like it's really balanced. In the same way, I feel like it's like I don't know. I feel like it's also not. Maybe it's because it is very well balanced and not very. It just doesn't feel quirky, and I like quirky games. Like I know that's kind of a lame way to word it, but like that's
No,
how I
I-
feel. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel very like. And so I do like it a lot mechanically. But yeah, it's not my favorite game.
Yeah.
I do think it's really fun. Like if in between every game we did like a 4 to 5 shot of this, that would be pause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like I when I say it's not my favorite game, I'm not saying that like this is on the par of I don't know the potato RPG. I'm saying that like
That
this
is your favorite
is
game, I thought.
don't. I'm just saying that like there are other games that I think try and push the boundaries a little bit more, and they
Yeah.
do a great
Yes,
job at
that
it.
that I agree with that.
Yeah.
This I feel like is pretty well standard. It's a very good game, but it's not trying to push in any weird
yeah.
spots that I have seen at this point.
If I
Yeah.
was trying to make a game and I wanted to reference what good balance looked like, I would refer back to this game.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like this is a very good like reality generator
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes.
type thing. Yeah, like especially when it comes to character creation, like you feel like a real person
Mhm.
versus feeling like a superhero or like an adventurer that slayed a dragon.
Mhm.
We should
Um,
make ourselves as characters in this.
There's
it's gonna
I-
be
I
zeros
could
and a
only
lot.
Right?
get things hard.
there is a modern version of the character sheet if you would like to try and do that. There's also the basic role-playing game,
I don't
which
like
is
how introspective
a
I'd have to be.
script
I know. I was
game.
gonna say I don't know if my
I
ego
was like, I don't know
can
if I want
handle
to put all that
Yeah.
out on
me
paper.
playing
you know?
myself.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
There's also the basic role playing system that Chaosium has come out with, and it is supposed to be generic, so you can put whatever you want on top of it, which is kind of cool. Right. And it is very similar to this, like 0 to 100 skills and that sort of thing. But it's supposed to be even more generic, so you can do whatever you want with it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I flipped through it a couple times, but
I don't know. That
Yeah.
feels like
2, 3,
D&D
4.
5e to me.
okay, all right,
I obviously haven't played it, but I like when a system has a niche.
yes,
Yeah.
And so,
Valid.
like, similar to how I feel about everybody using 5e for every setting ever,
Yep.
I would feel potentially similar with having like a generic version of this game. Just because, like, sure, you can make any setting scary, but like, should it be scary?
yeah,
Whereas like Cthulhu's nice about like it's supposed to be set in the 20s, right? And so like if you do a modern version, cool. But like that's like its uniqueness.
Yeah,
I feel
that's
like
its
is like
niche.
it's
Je ne sais quoi.
yeah. And I would rather play a different scary game. Like I love 80s silly
slasher,
slasher type American Horror Story-esque feeling, like campy horror sometimes, but I would not want to play Call of Cthulhu set in the 80s.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean? So,
That made me think of a really good example of when needing a system that's actually designed for it is Into the Abyss. which is a Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition adventure path. And they just slapped on a whole other attribute for sanity in that game.
Okay.
And it just does not feel at all the same, like in any way, shape, or form. This feels like actual sanity. It's going down incrementally. It's all, slowly but surely. Where in that game, it just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like when the puzzle piece doesn't fit, so you just kind of force it in there.
That's what it felt like. Yeah, exactly.
You're like, it kind of fits.
Yeah, it fits now.
It's like bubbling up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thing to steal from this: push rolls.
I like
Push
push rolls. If you can swing it, I'd say tiered successes. But if you have to pick
True.
one thing, I'd say
That's
push
why
rolls.
I'm excited for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, because they have the tiered successes
Oh,
and
sick.
tiered
Should we
failures.
ever try that on here?
I think
Maybe like as a one shot
maybe, yeah.
or a short arc.
Let
I'll
us
be
know what
honest,
you want.
It's
Yeah.
wild that
We're not
haven't.
going to do it necessarily.
played it.
I want to know though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know if
Yeah.
I'm ignoring your wishes or if you don't wish for it at all.
Well, it's because we're afraid of change.
Not me. I love quarters.
Yeah.
Well played.
I don't like pennies though.
It's a little messed up, right?
No, it isn't.
Those little
They're
pinkies up of you.
stupid.
They are stupid. They
They
are more
cost
expensive.
more than they're
Yep.
worth.
You got a
Yep.
problem with Lincoln?
Abe,
No, he's my favorite president in history.
Oh, okay.
not a fan of John Wilkes, huh?
I used to have a phone case that had
Jesus
Abraham
Christ.
Lincoln on it.
Really?
Really?
Why is that so wholesome of you? That makes me so happy.
Do we have anything else for
No,
game? Any last
I'm,
minute thoughts?
Wesley's right there.
I'm a thought.
Last minute one though.
Yeah, only if you
Goodness
like the
gracious.
bar's about to close. All the other thoughts.
Goodness
I'm like,
gracious.
Oh, man.
running away. I think not enough DMs use it. This game obviously encourages it, or maybe we're just really skittish as players. I know I was getting the fuck out of there all the time, but I think that's good. I think that's cool in any game to bring up that when you're playing a game and a boss comes up out of fucking nowhere and you get the tip. Sometimes running away is a good course of action. I think DMs could also just keep that in the back of their minds because it's cool to introduce scenarios that you can't immediately win, that you may have to come back later. And I think that doesn't come up a lot in super fantasy heavy games. I think it could. So that's not necessarily a thing to steal, more a thing to keep in mind. Definitely steal the push rolls though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
push rolls are sick.
Yeah. I really liked the damage being slow and painful. That's what I would steal from this.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, like slow healing then?
Slow healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Cool. You smell like shit.
Oh, hold on.
Goodness
Should
gracious.
we
You might not
announce the
smell
next
that
thing?
good. Is it not?
It's
Did we
Summer of
announce?
Side Quests, but what do we want to say
else?
what we're doing after?
Should we do that after the site? I don't know. I don't know how we did it last year.
It's a new year. New year,
It's,
new
Yeah,
it's
but it's
not
just-
a new
it's-
year.
It's
It
It's
is
like we're deep
It is
into 2024.
That's
summer of
Yeah,
2020.
You hear the
but-
fireworks going off?
It's the new year, but it's the same me. So I don't know what to do.
Oh, let's just do what you did last year.
Okay, what did I do last year?
I feel like
I'm not you, so
You are, man.
Staviticus, if you would.
Oh. Avatar of the Last Airbender variety.
Yeah, not the tall
Not the
blue
blue
aliens.
Yeah. I
We're
wouldn't
playing that.
like that.
After the summer.
after the Summer Side
Yeah.
Quests.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that.
Yeah,
Which
so,
means, oh no, I have to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra over the weekend.
And you have to read all
Not
the
over the
books.
weekend.
Over the weekend is great.
You're not sleeping.
It's literally-
because it's Saturday night.
Yeah, it's like,
It is
Temporally
midnight.
impossible.
yeah.
Yeah, it is actually Sunday morning.
So it's
now.
Sunday morning. Good luck.
Avatar: Last Airbender was one of the first things I ever binged. A friend of mine had a 48-hour watch party, and we
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
and we watched all of Avatar.
Worth it.
nice. That
Yeah.
sounds like a good time.
Yeah, and then we tried to start John Wick, fell right asleep.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Or no, it wasn't John Wick. It was Jason Bourne. Sorry,
Oh.
those ones.
Equally sleepable.
Yeah,
Hey.
Respectfully.
very
no,
good.
I love the Bourne movies.
I love
but
John Wick.
compared to Avatar though. Like,
Yeah.
Like, no,
I'm
no,
staying up for Uncle Iroh. I'm
staying up for
gonna
the game, you know what I
snooze
mean?
for any action
Yeah.
scenes afterwards. You
Yeah,
know? Like,
valid.
are you the Dragon of the West?
You want to see? I would say you want to call me the Dragon of the West.
Like-
yeah, Uncle Iroh's so iconic.
Yeah.
Icon.
And like, I swear, every other one of my Pathfinder characters is just an Earthbender reskinned, and so
Yeah.
I need to find a way not to play an Earthbender in Avatar because I really want to.
Or
but
maybe you
Maybe
play an Earthbender to get it
follow-
out of your system.
Yeah, follow
maybe
your heart.
maybe that is it.
Maybe you just need to truly be an earthbender.
Yeah.
Maybe I just need to truly be a fire woman.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
I've done that several times. Maybe I need
Whatever.
to be a firebender.
Do you,
Anyways,
King?
stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay smelling
Yeah.
like shit.
Doses.
Later, nerds.
They smell
Unless
so
you don't
fucking
want to
bad.
smell like
Be
shit,
nice
then
to
subscribe to
them.
our Patreon.
Yeah.
Y'all be nice to our subscribers. Everyone else is worthless to me.
Oh my gosh. Thanks for listening.
Especially
you
that
guys.
one guy.
I'm sorry that we're all chaos.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
fight.